I'll never get tired of that theme song. And here we go, coming to you live from the brand new Overtime Arcade Studios 2.0, still a work in progress. So please pardon our construction. It is episode 17, believe it or not, of the Coin Jam podcast. Chance looks really confused. I don't know if there's a woodpecker in his roof or something like that. But yeah, we are golden. So as always, I'm joined by a couple of my partners in crime. We've got Kay from Prime Arcade. We've got Chance from the Canadian Arcade. And of course, yours truly, Charlie from Overtime Arcade. You're probably, if you're watching this live right now, you're watching it on my YouTube channel. But if you're listening to it later, thank you for listening to it wherever you find podcasts. And we are cooking. Let's take a look at what's going on in the live chat. Got quite a few people here already. Tons of Overtime Arcade channel members. Encore MPW, Bob Freeman, the Arcade Woodshop, Tony Arrowwood himself, Arcade Maze, Wayne's here, Frog Puppet, Legend of Memes, Papa Sean 69, Jerry Voluptuous. Let's see. I think that's everybody. Awesome. If I haven't said your name, I'm sorry. Please say hi, introduce yourself, and we are off and running. So first, let me kind of explain two things. Liam's going to be here at some point. Liam has something big planned right now. Liam and Sam, of course, from Retrobotics on YouTube. Liam's usually here, but he's got something going on that's actually very highly relevant to the main topic of today's episode. So he'll be joining us a little bit later, maybe for the second half or the final, half hour or something. But he'll be on and sort of telling us all about what he's doing, which again is perhaps one of the most extreme examples of what we're going to be talking about today. And also, this is a different and unusual background for me. We'll get into this in a little bit, but I'm in the midst and actually just started today relocating both my home office and my primary basement arcade lineup into a different room. So again, sorry for the dust and apologies for the construction. And we got a bunch of more people in here. ENKO, Jeffrey Mays. What's going on, everybody? And cool. So why don't we get things started with our standard updates, which is basically what's been going on in all of our worlds. So why don't we start first with Kay? Any recent pickups, game room updates? What have you been up to lately?
Well, I've had quite a few pickups, the most recent being a pair of Defenders, one of which was complete. The other one was sort of complete, but all the boards were already out of it and stored very poorly. The first Defender has been repaired and is up for sale. The second Defender I have not even started on. I'm not sure if those boards are going to be any good or not. I also picked up a firepower pinball machine.
Ooh. Which
looks a little rough, but it'll clean up pretty nicely. And I haven't picked it up yet, but part of that deal is also a Data East Jurassic Park pin.
Ooh. Oh. Yeah, we got to talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that something you want?
That's not something I want. That's something the wife has been wanting for about 6 years.
All right,
Anyway.
we'll put it on the truck next to the ice cold beer that I have that you also want.
Yeah, what the heck? Sorry, continue.
Save on shipping costs.
Yeah.
So I've gone
Bundle
to
and
the house
save.
and seen it, but I haven't actually picked it up yet. But the deal's already been made and it is mine. You'll see some recent videos on the TikTok about some repairs I did recently. I had a Silver Ball Mania that cleaned up very nicely and had a very nice result. Already sold a baby Pac-Man, which has been the bane of my existence for a little while. I finally just gave up on the video board and sent it away. And I finally got that back, and that was the last piece in that puzzle. So that baby Pac-Man is up and running and also in the showroom. I've also had a couple of centipedes that we did some videos on. Inco was in the chat. She did all of the cosmetics, complete new
Nice.
side art, which after watching videos of it being done and then watching her do it was not something that I wanted to do at all. So I'm very thankful that she came down and did that for me. She did, the first one was the full side art that completely encompasses everything. The second one was kind of just like a contour cut decal that I wanted to try out because it was a little bit cheaper. So you just paint the sides and have it sitting just on top of that, and it looks okay, but I don't think the adhesive is strong enough because it's trying to peel off of the sides. I reinforced it a little bit, but I don't know if it's just the adhesive they used wasn't strong enough because as soon as I got it came straight out of the box and got applied. So it wasn't due to age or anything like that. But the two were also from different manufacturers, so maybe one was just more superior than the other. It was less than half the cost though, so and
Nice.
also a little bit easier to apply. But I think if you're gonna do the whole thing of sanding and stripping and painting, you might as well do the entire side art, not just a big sticker that goes on the side. So I think in the future that's probably what we'll go with. And like she said, the heat in the shop probably doesn't help because I have a very poorly insulated building with no AC down in Texas. So
I thought the deal with Enco was she'd start working on it when you sprung for AC. These are
it's not my
hazardous work
building,
conditions.
so I'm never going to put AC in there. But if you just stand directly in front of the swamp cooler, you'll live for a couple minutes. As soon as you go too far to the left or too far to the right, you're in great danger. To anyone who's ever played the Mass Effect series, there's a mission where if you're not standing in the shade, your shields start to go down because of the sun being so intense. It's basically what it's like in my shop.
Yep. What's the temperature there right now?
I would have to look, but I would guess somewhere in the 90s. It was over 100 earlier today.
Okay, and what's that in the regular worldwide units?
I don't know. I only speak American.
Was that like 30?
It is currently 97 degrees. And to give an example, when I got in my truck after work to drive home, there's an internal thermometer. I took a picture of it. The temperature was 126 degrees. And I was parked in the shade.
Wow.
So take of that what you will.
I can tell that that AC unit is about 6 inches away from your head and has the green light on. So
yeah. Well, the thing is, this apartment complex, my AC actually went out a month ago, and they have yet to repair it because mine isn't the only one that went out. The entire unit went bad.
Oh, no.
So I had to get a couple window units, which I've survived, but you think they'd have a little bit more priority about getting that fixed, but that's a different topic.
30. Okay, so Papa Sean just put it in the chat. He says 95 degrees Fahrenheit is 35 degrees Celsius.
So I was right. I said 30 something.
Yeah. The hottest it normally gets where we are is about 42. Josh will probably correct me in the thread because he's an expert on weather, or in the chat. But like, I think about 42 degrees Celsius is really like one of our highs, which is insane to me. Like 35 is insane to me. It's like
it's still hailed that day, probably.
It's still hailed that day. Yeah, it's probably like I don't know, like 19 degrees Celsius outside right now here. It was really cold and rainy the last few days. I've been in Banff, so I haven't really been here, but like apparently it was like torrential rain. So
Yes, we're about to celebrate Independence Day. I don't know anything about Celsius, and I refuse to learn.
There you go. Well, not to turn this into the Weather Channel. So I'm about an hour outside of DC, and it was probably the nicest day of the year today, especially in the morning. You know, it had been brutally hot for the past week or so. You know, high 90s. You know, super hard. You know, high humidity. And then was it not last night, but the night before, we had a massive thunderstorm come in. I lost power twice for a couple minutes. Liam and Sam lost power for hours. They live about an hour and a half away from me. They're on like the other side of DC. But that broke the humidity, and it was beautiful. I got my oil changed in my truck this morning, and I walked across the street to a breakfast place, and I was having coffee out on the patio, and it was gorgeous. So anyway,
I walked across the street today and almost died.
Charlie, you do realize that every single time you and Liam have power outages, that's just a Canadian at the Niagara Falls plant just like screwing with you guys, turning it on and off.
Not quite. I don't think we got our power from there, but
I thought you did.
Maybe
a whole
not down here. Not all the way down here.
Oh.
So cool. Any other updates, Kay, before we move along to Mr. Chance?
No, that's all I wrote down on this paper, and I'm sure I'll remember something 2 seconds into him talking, so I'll just interrupt.
Oh, yeah,
you know, we do have a shared Google Doc where you can do all of it and save it and reference it last time. You don't have to scribble it down in your diary.
Yeah, I don't read.
But you just admitted to writing.
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm writing because I refuse to read it as I'm doing
Draw
it.
pictures.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
okay.
illiterate.
All right. Chance, well, first of all, let me say congratulations. The first new episode of the Canadian RK dropped today, and it was a shadow drop. No build up, no lead up, no anticipation. Just boom, posted.
Yeah. I just want to make sure you're paying close attention, because if you have been watching us on social media, you would have known that something was coming. So
you post all kinds of stuff on Facebook, but no shorts, no nothing on YouTube.
Yeah. But like I think the other day, it was maybe a week ago, because I filmed that like 5-6 days ago. Like I said, I've been in Banff for the last couple of days for some friends of ours. They were in from Australia and in from the UK for their wedding. Like half the family came from England, the other half came from Australia. So we've been partying with Aussies and Brits for the last couple of days. But yeah, so we just before we left for that, I was up till like 2-3 in the morning, kind of filming, the do-si-do, as I called it, kind of moving things around. And just before that, I actually posted on an Instagram story, like, hey, I'm going to do this, this, and this. But it was like a big, like, if you would have watched the story, you would have seen like, oh, he's probably going to make content out of that. I don't even think Josh saw it coming, to be honest with you. I just figured like to hell with it. Let's put up a camera and let's go. So yeah, so that was my big update. Was that
don't break that button?
Yeah, right. Like, so that was my big update. A couple other little updates that I've got going. The Wild Gunman is complete. Yeah, so I still have to do the holster and I still have to do the thumbprint panel on the front. But other than that, the game is up and working and completed, and that is in huge part to Matt on the members only Discord. I can never NES SNES 64
Cube 64
SNES Cube 64. It's all of the Nintendo consoles. So it's a huge thanks to Matt. Matt was able to do me up a Wild Gunman cartridge and a new BIOS for my Wild Gunman. This is the old BIOS chip, and so he got me hooked up with that and a couple other Play Choice games. So like as soon as I got those and they came in, I threw them in line. And I was like, I'm just moving the Wild Gunman, and I'm moving the Sky Skipper. We're doing this, like it's go time. So huge thanks to him. Yeah, and then the other, what was my other new update? The Helifire. I don't know if you guys know this, but I've had a Helifire for like 6 years, and it's been not working. That's also thanks to Matt, because in part of our little trade deal, or like our horse trade or cash trade or whatever we're going to end up doing, I've got like a metric ton of like old like Nintendo wiring harnesses that Josh and I picked up from an operator a number of years ago. And so when I got my Helifire, like, I don't know, like 6-7 years ago, my Hellfire cocktail and my Sheriff cocktail came from the same collector down in Arizona. And we shipped it up on a pallet to the border. And we did that episode in the Canadian Arcade where we went and picked it up. And then, yeah, we basically, it was missing, the Sheriff was missing a couple of things. The Hellfire did have it. The Hellfire was playable, but the monitor was dead. And because Sheriff was my priority, and for the most part of my collecting career, Sheriff has always been my priority. We just decided to pilfer from the Hellfire. But when Matt said, like, hey, I'm interested in some of the harnesses that you have, like, that just made me pull the box out. And I said, okay, well, you can have whatever you want. Just like, let me go through and get what I need for the Hellfire. So that just, like, last week, that if you were on the members only Discord, you'll have noticed that I was just going crazy, like trying to fix the monitor, trying to fix the power supply. And just had to sort that thing out and get that going. And now my Hellfire's up in the den just outside of my office here and working.
For the few people watching right now who are not Overtime Arcade channel members, can you share a little bit more detail about what you were doing in your bathtub?
My bathtub?
No,
Or
my
Vanessa's
bathtub.
bathtub?
Oh, okay. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay, so, geez, if Calgary bylaw finds out, I'm dead. So if anybody has been paying attention to Canadian news, which I don't know why you would, but the city of Calgary, back on June 5th, we had a major water main break in the city of Calgary. So, like, long story short, Calgary's got two big water treatment plants, one on the west side and one on the southeast side. And there's this massive, like, 2-meter wide water pipe that connects both of them. Now, I live on the one by the west side, so, like, I'm really not affected by this. And when the pipe broke on the 5th, this was like the city went into an emergency. Like, we got like 1.2 million people. And like, I was like a couple of hours away from setting up my pool in my backyard. So I was a little angry because they took the entire city and they put us into, can't remember what it was called, like level 4 water restrictions. So basically, like, shortage, like, one less run of the wash machine,
if it's mellow, if it's yellow, let it mellow.
Yeah, exactly. And then if it's brown, like, okay, flush it down. But like, they were fear mongering from the city of Calgary, like all over the news, everything. We got one of those emergency alerts on all of our phones. And basically, like, absolutely zero usage of water outside for like washing your cars, watering your lawn, washing down your house, just spraying your kids. Like, you can't do any of that. Like, it got to the point where like even some of the small surrounding towns, they got shut down too. Like, a buddy of ours, Jeff, he said that he walked outside, saw his neighbor running his sprinklers. He's like, you know, we're under a water ban, right? Like, this was like a couple of days later. And Jeff's like, yeah, you should probably stop that. And a couple hours later, he saw his neighbor again. And I guess bylaw had come by and gave him a $3,000 fine. Like, 3,000 Canadian. Like, it's like what? Like 20
million American? I don't know.
Yeah, American. Let's be honest. It's not pesos, but it's close. But so anyway, so like they were out there. So just out of spite, I decided to do two things. One, I set up my pool in the backyard. I didn't fill it with water, but I set up my pool in the backyard on the deck. It's like one of those 10-foot wide, like, steel frame pools. And I let it sit there for the day just to see how many of my neighbors were snitches. And then two, it got windy, so I had to take it down like the next day. And then two, because I was in the middle of replacing the monitors on my red tents. I already had them pulled and ready to go because one of them had a yoke problem and the other one had a lot of burn in, and I had these spares. I needed to wash them. So I took them to the tub upstairs in our ensuite bathroom where I've got like this little attachment, and like I did the simple green and hose trick with them in there, and then let them dry downstairs in the basement. So that's
Sorry, Vanessa.
Story. Yeah. So Charlie's been bugging me for the past couple of days that I've been taking up my wife's jacuzzi tub, and she never uses it other than as a hamper anyway. So like, who cares? So anyway, that's the situation in Calgary. And apparently the pipes have been fixed. Any day now, they're going to turn the water on for everyone else, but it's never affected us in the West.
And now you got sparkling clean red tent monitors inside your cabinet.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew that I was kind of lucky because I had two red tents, and we'll talk about one of my red tents a little bit later when we talk about like long travels for getting games, because I got a bit of a story behind that. But I've got two red tents and I've got 5 sharp 18-inch monitors. One that like got plugged into the wall when I got it. Long story, don't want to talk about it. And it's fried, but it still has some other working parts. And then 2 other ones that we pulled out of an operator a number of years ago that have just been sitting on the shelf. And I've kind of just been sitting downstairs. Like if you've watched any Canadian arcade videos in the last couple of years, the 3 that we've put out, you'll have seen like an out of order sign on the one side of my red tent. And that's because the yoke went. And that if you've got a red tent, protect those yokes because they go.
And that's one of the reasons, like I thought about moving my Donkey Kong Jr. cocktail to my office at work, right? To put it next to my class of 81. But I've got a red tent monitor in that junior cocktail. And the reason I haven't brought it is because I'm worried about exactly what you're talking about. Like it's liable to be left on for days and I don't want to burn up the red tent yoke. But now apparently you can use skinny neck K7000 yokes.
Yeah. But we've also talked about that, and you need to learn how to set up HomeKit so that you can use a HomeKit device on that and make sure it gets shut off.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that somebody's not going to unplug it and plug it into another outlet.
Yeah, but you're depriving people of a good game.
This is true. Yeah. We'll do something eventually.
Yeah.
So, cool. Any other updates, Chance?
Not really. I think that's pretty much it over here.
Cool.
Basically getting ready to start the nibbler soon, but maybe.
Good stuff. Now, are you going to run original boards or?
Oh no, absolutely not. We're going BitKit on that. Yeah, it's going to be the only reason I say that is because we're going to do a multi-BitKit nibbler themed control panel on that thing.
I love it.
So. Yeah.
I love it. And I've been going hard into the BitKit too lately. So for my updates, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So I've been on a bit of a tear, right? I did mention last time in the previous episode that I had picked up 2 cabinets, or actually, let's say, so far this year, I did the second Outrun Mini and the Chicken Shift in January. I got the Primal Rage in March. I got the Irish Food Fight in March, and then I got a Kicks in May. So that was pretty good. Very, pacing myself, especially compared to what I was doing last year. And last week I picked up 5 cabinets, none of which were planned, right? So last weekend I released the episode 100 tour. So the first time doing a tour since episode 1 on my channel. So almost 2 years. I went through all the games in the basement, and I had 2 different pods, 2 different rooms set up with games. I got everything pulled out in the garage. Like I spent 2 days cleaning out my garage, making tons of room. And so instead of having all the games, crammed into one end and stacked, nose to tail in front of each other, I got them all spread out so I can turn all of them on that are working, etc. And so as soon as I upload that tour, I go and I grab 5 more games. And none of these were particularly planned. So the first one is going to be, I'm doing a pickup video for it this weekend. This is a game that I had seen on Facebook Marketplace for a long time. I was kind of interested in it. And two things really catalyzed my decision to actually go out and go get it. So this game was in Maryland, not too far away from me, and very, very uncommon, but uncommon doesn't always mean, expensive. This was a Sidam Bosconian, right? Ooh. So Bosconian, super awesome game, right? Kind of, flew under the radar a little bit. Namco game, published in the US by Bally Midway, and sort of a, top-down shooter. So imagine like a free roaming Galaga almost, and there's bases you have to attack. So it's a little bit like the overhead levels of what was it, Thunder Force on Genesis, or a little bit like Sinistar, right? But not nearly as sort of crazy action. And Sidam I think they still exist. They don't make arcade games anymore. Sidam was a European arcade, manufacturer. They got their start, I guess, bootlegging games. They made a game called Magic Worm that was like a bootleg version of Centipede, and they got sued and stopped doing that. And then they started doing licensed games. And they did, among others, they did Bosconian. So it's got Bosconian side art. This game had been converted to Akari Warriors 3. And it had been up for, I think a couple of months, right? I was just, kept into my saved items, hemming and hawing on what I wanted to do. The two things that really got me going to go get it were, one, the seller dropped down the price to $300, right? And Aaron Crafty Mech, the maker of the BitKit 2, added support for Bosconian to the BitKit 2. He's been doing a ton of work adding horizontal games. So Bosconian is a horizontal game. So the plan is I'm going to basically restore this back to a quote unquote dedicated side-am Bosconian. I'm going to run the BitKit 2 inside it, and I'll probably load some other horizontal games in there to play it. So that should be a ton of fun. So I picked up my second BitKit 2 board. He had them on sale recently for $20 off. So that was great. And I thought I'd be done for June at that point, right? And there I was, minding my own business one night. It's like 9 o'clock at night. I had just put, actually, like probably half an hour earlier, I had put our youngest to bed, and I was kind of like sitting in his room because kids, right? Like he wants people in his room while he falls asleep. Like he'll like screw around and like start playing and not go to sleep if you don't sit there and kind of watch him go to sleep. It's weird, I know. And I get a text from Mark from Back to the Media. So you guys have heard me talk about Back to the Media. They're building an arcade, awesome guy. And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" Like it's what is it? Friday night at 9 o'clock. I'm at home, right? I'm an old man, right? He's like, "I need you to go pick up a couple games." Okay. And he's like, "But you can have them." So apparently the story was, there's this guy, husband and wife, older grandparent age type of folks. And he used to, I think, repair games for a route. I don't know if he had a route or was just a technician for somebody that had a route. And he ended up with a few games, when all that closed down, he ended up with a few games, in his garage. And him and his wife were having a yard sale, and they had 2 games out with $100 price tag on them for, like out here, people will often do like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yard sale. They'll do like a Friday, almost like preview, and then like boom all day Saturday and Sunday. And so these games were out for sale at this yard sale with no advertising for $100 each, and nobody took them. Right.
Wow. And
so, sundown, the wife posts them on Facebook Marketplace, and Mark sees it like 2 minutes after it's up. Mark's like out of town, right? He's like, "Hey, I'll get them, give me your address." And she's like, "Okay, here it is." And Mark just did that sort of like presumptively, right? And then he's like, "I'll just find somebody that will go get them that I know," right? And so, my wife, I told my wife, and my wife is a saint. She said, "Go ahead." And so I just threw, my ratchet straps in the back of the truck, and I went. And the only picture that I had was, it was a Mizpac Mini, so Cabaret Mizpac, and a Dynamo HS5, so 25-inch Dynamo with the pull-out, PCB tray on the control panel. So I get there, no problem, everything was good, and I asked the magic question in this sort of situation that you always need to ask, which is, you guys know what I'm talking about?
Do you have anything else?
Yeah. What else you got?
Yeah.
Exactly. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got some other stuff, but you probably wouldn't want that." Right.
Yeah.
So first we go into the garage, and he's got a bunch of Mega Touches. And I'm like, CRT though, right?
Yeah, but you can't really use those CRTs for anything. Those are pretty much giveaways. Not even like bench,
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and he's like, "Oh, I got a shed though, some stuff in the shed." I'm like, "All right, so let's go in the shed." He had a cigarette machine. He had a CD jukebox, but not really. I think just like a normal, like Row CD 100. I think is what it's called.
Not like the one with the big prism in the middle between the speakers on the top.
No, not quite. And a Dynamo HS6 cocktail with Atari Tetris. So,
hello. Yeah.
So I got the Ms. Pack Mini and the HS5. Yep, for $100 each.
Yeah.
And I asked him how much he wanted for the cocktail, right? And he's like, I don't know, make me an offer. And I said $50. He's like, it's yours, right?
No way.
Yeah. So we then had to we had to carry, the cocktail around back to the front of the house, right? And we got it all loaded up, and that was a bear, right? Because he really couldn't help me, older guy with a bad back and stuff. He could basically just spot me, right? And it's funny. This is the first time I've ever loaded 3 cabinets into my truck, and I was able to close the tailgate too.
Wow.
So essentially, we put the HS6 on its side because it's got because it's 25, it's got sort of a bump out for the neck. You really can't lay it flat on its back. So we put it on its side, and then I just, huffed and I puffed and I stood that thing up, right?
Yeah.
And then we got the Ms. Pack Mini stood up in the back, and we basically he did help me lift up the cocktail and put it in. And that was great, right? I haven't turned them on. I've been so busy, right? Especially I've been focused on the Bosconian. But he said, he's like, the last time I plugged these things in, they worked, right? So I haven't even been able to get inside of the Dynamo cocktail yet because it's locked. He didn't have keys, and they had like the heaviest duty padlocks I've ever seen. I'm not even sure my heavy duty bolt cutters are going to get through it. I might have to slowly Dremel the what is it called? The latch
shackle.
or the shackle of the
you'll be fine. Bolt cutters always look like they can't do what they need to do, but trust me, bolt cutters you don't even need the biggest set of bolt cutters.
I got the Harbor Freight special though, man.
Yeah, you'll be
fine.
Get
out of pot metal.
Never underestimate bolt cutters.
And then he took me down into a sex dungeon, and he had a Sundance.
Hey, easy. What time?
I took his dignity, and I took it. What?
Oh my gosh! I got to go back.
That one was $25.
Every time you guys are gonna get me in trouble. All right, so I thought that was enough, right? I thought that was enough, and I get home and it's like midnight. Finally, this was really close to my house. This was 30 miles from my house, or 30 miles from my house, and that was awesome, right? Like some of the closest games I've ever gotten. And thanked my wife. I was all sweaty. Took a shower before going to bed, right? And then Saturday comes and goes, pretty uneventful. And then there I am, Sunday morning, maxing and relaxing on the couch again, minding my own business, and my phone starts blowing up, right? In the Overtime Arcade private, channel members only Discord. I think it was VHS Arcade Vault who goes by Moto Man on Clav. He's got his own YouTube channel. Let's make sure we get a link in the is he here? He's not here, man.
Not here.
If someone could post a link to VHS Arcade Vault in the live chat just to make sure everyone subscribes. So he found this thing, right? And what did he say? It was a Williams cabinet, and he said something like, I think this might be a Sinistar or something like that. And Liam's like, no, that's a Bubbles. Final answer, $200.
Yeah.
Right? Converted to Lucky 8 lines or whatever it is, slot machine thing. And Bubbles, go
now. Go get it right now. Yeah. Right? Drop what you're doing. Start the car.
My VAPS wanted list. Bubbles been at the top, tied with a Spy Hunter sit down for years. Burger Time's not too far. Yeah, that is a nostalgic game for me as a kid.
Pass.
Specifically sit down. And Burger Time, but Bubbles, most days I would say was the best. I'd only ever seen one come up for sale that I had an opportunity at, and it was the one that Troy from Troy's Restorations ended up getting and doing an awesome restore on his channel. That was Rochester, New York. And so $200. The only problem is this Bubbles is in Nashville. I'm sorry, Knoxville, Tennessee, right?
Those are two different places.
500. They're pretty close.
Okay.
Knoxville's 500 miles away from me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, what can I do, right? Can I take I can't take Mondays are always my busiest day at work, right? Maybe I can take Tuesday off. How is this thing going to live that long, survive that long? Because it wasn't posted as a Bubbles, it was posted as a Lucky 8 lines or whatever it is. but the sides were painted black, but the paint was coming off. And if you knew what you were looking at, you look at that and you're like, that is a Bubbles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how Liam, recognized it. And so, and so I don't worry about the logistics yet. I just contact the seller and say, I'll take it. I can pick it up anytime after 5 p.m. today or anytime on Tuesday, right? Mm-hmm. And she says, today would be best. And so I go to my wife and I'm like, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please. Can I disappear for the rest of the day? She's like, why? I'm like, I need to go to Knoxville, right? She's like, you're a fool, you're an idiot, go, right? So literally, I was out the door on the road. There we go. There's the link. I was out the door on the road. I timed it 18 minutes after seeing that link on. I didn't see it for a couple of minutes, but I was out the door on the road 18 minutes.
You drove all the way to Knoxville in 18 minutes?
No, I left the house 18 minutes after I saw this.
He was driving at plaid speed.
And, 500 miles, and we'll talk about all this. I was so nervous that I was going to get skunked, right? But apparently there was only one other person. Like, between the time that I contacted the seller and she said, come and get it, only one other person contacted her.
Wow.
Right? So that was
slow
really
day
lucky.
on the marketplace.
Wow. But the Tetris cocktail and the other Dynamo cab and the Miz pack, apparently 50, by the time I showed up, they said 50 other people had contacted them.
That's crazy.
But anyway, so I get there and there's a problem, right? I saw on the listing, there was some cosmetic damage. Obviously it had been converted, sides painted black and like scraped up, right? Like it looked like it maybe had been dragged on its side. Yeah. I get there and there's a problem, and I don't think the sellers had necessarily taken a very close look at the cabinet, and I think they were worried that they were now asking for too much for this thing, right? Because some termites have been snacking on this cabinet, not necessarily recently, but at a minimum, the bottom panel is going to have to be replaced. Like, it's intact, but it's like only 90% still left. And possibly one of the sides is going to have to be replaced, right?
Yeah, but okay, the argument in those cases are like the metal bits, all the other, like even the dimensions are worth something of value at that point.
Oh yeah,
you can get reproduction cabinets. Exactly.
I'm not doing that. I might replace one of the sides, or I might like cut it right because there's like one side is like 90.
Or you can knock that side off and just push it against a wall.
That's true. I can mount it on the
wall. Just mount it to the
wall.
You go.
Couple L brackets, you're good.
Oh yeah.
And so like I'm there and I'm like, oh man, like there was no signs of active, termites. I didn't see any, whatever, right? And so I strapped it up, and I actually went to Home Depot and like Googled what to do, right? People are like, oh, you should bug bomb it and like put the fogger inside the cabinet under the tarps as you're going down the road and like make it a smoke show on the highway, right?
He's
but the thing I saw
on the highway.
I was like Googling like termite bug bomb, and everything I was finding was saying, it doesn't work. Foggers don't work on termites, and no bug bomb like claims to be effective on termites. There's only like foam, like liquid foam sprays. Right?
Oh yeah.
So I got one of those things,
or fire,
and like
fireworks
poked holes. Like I wrapped it in stretch wrap, right? And I was like poking holes into it, almost like an injection basting of a turkey, right? Poking a hole in, spraying the termite, foam, and then moving to another spot. And like I used the whole bottle, wrapped it all up. And then I left, drove all the way home, got home at like, 1 a.m. and then left it on I saw the weather forecast. It wasn't going to rain for days. I left it on my truck and like drove around town with it for like 2.5 days just to let that stuff do its work. And like, I figured I would maybe, if that like forced the termites out, I would at least see them crawling around maybe. So yeah, now it's in my, John Fisher says, Fish is a new channel member, says that fogger would definitely discourage tailgating. I'd probably get pulled over for, smoking up, right? Like while driving. So anyway, that was awesome. And I think, and I wish I could say that I'm done, but I've got 4 more cabinets coming my way, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So Let's go on to. Oh yeah. Anyway, let's go on to. Oh,
hey,
what?
before we move forward, just a quick thing about bubbles. Did you see the other day when I posted this in the Discord server?
Robotron Cabaret. Is it not a Robotron?
It is not a Robotron Cabaret. Josh took a good look at it. That's a Bubbles Cabaret that someone converted to a Robotron.
How dare they?
Yeah.
Where is that in? Oh, that's in Calgary.
That's in Calgary.
Yeah, but it's they're asking a decent amount for it.
She's asking way too much, and that's in Canadian, right? So again, that's what 14. But anyway, so like Josh, myself, like we've got a small. I've mentioned it a few times. We've got this small group of arcade collectors in the Calgary area. That's like our little like hotline chat that we have. So if somebody sees something that they know one of the rest of us wants, they'll let us know, or parts, and we're just a bunch of buddies that chat on here. And we all kind of like, everyone knew that like I was trying to convince Josh to go get it because I know he likes Robotron, and we didn't really figure out it was a Bubbles until like the last second. We've all messaged her trying to get like her to like call us back, and she would message us back every once in a while. Like we put like lower prices, obviously, and I think it's a scam. Like I legitimately, looking at it, I legitimately think it's a scam because it's still up and nobody's got it. Like the Calgary community, they're a little bloodthirsty. So I'm kind of at the point now where it's a scam. So
has anyone talked to her and tried to, set up a time to go look at it?
Yeah. So one of our buddies, he offered, I think like $800-900 Canadian. I offered 1,000. And then I put the high offer in, and then Josh and everybody else put in low offers. I think that's the way you try
this is
and
the collusion portion.
The collusion. Yeah. So everyone knew that I wanted it. And when Josh said no, like I'm going to pass, like, whatever. And so she messaged one of them back and was like, oh, I'm going to hold out for a little bit more, but thank you very much. Like I can't go that. My boss says I can't go that low or whatever. But like, so people have been talking with her back and forth, like from our group. And it's just like, I think they're looking for that full dollar value, but it also could be like, let's wait until it's $1,000 and let's get rid of the tire kickers. So, but you said Bubbles, and I had to bring that up. So, anyway.
Well, and you also have to buy it with Amazon gift cards. That's how you have to pay. I don't know if that's relevant, but
yeah, because she's just not getting back to anybody. So it's like, well, she's getting back to us, but she's not closing the deal unless it's over $1,200. I'm thinking. So
another tactic could be have somebody from that group that hasn't messaged her yet just say, without talking about price, hey, is there a good time where I can come over and take a look in person?
Yeah, that's a good call. We should probably do that. I think I'm past the point where it'd be nice to have it, because I would like to take the Robotron boards out of that, put it in my Robotron, and then take the J-Rock that's in my Robotron and put it in this, and make it like a mini Multi-Williams or a Bubbles again, and put it on location.
There you go. Good stuff.
Another point on that. I know we touched on this with another episode, but that is the best method to get someone to take a lower price, is to be there in person, cash in hand, with your truck, ready to take it. If you're on site and if you're going to haggle, do it in person.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people all the time that message me. They're like, hey, will you take X amount for this game? I'm like, show up here first and show me that you're serious, and then we can talk price. 99 times out of 100, they don't show up.
So you're saying specifically, say to those people, hey, when can I come look at it? Or, hey, I'm on my way, I'm coming to see it right now. One of those. And then show up, cash on the glass, and be like, I got $1,000 for you. I know you wanted 14, but I got $1,000 for you.
And that can work in the buyer's favor if they're not going too far to get to it, right? So like, this game is in Calgary, but if it was in Vancouver, you're not going to drive all the way there hoping that they're going to accept a half price offer.
Yeah, if it's something you got to go way out of your way for,
I don't think.
But if it's 20 minutes down the road, do it.
Yeah, I don't think you guys realize just how far away certain places are in Calgary or in Canada. Like,
I'm pulling up Google Maps.
Legitimately, like, it would be easier for me to get to Regina, which you have no concept of what that is, but it'd be easier for me to go visit Wayne than it would be to drive through the mountains and go to
I
Vancouver.
don't even know who Wayne is, but you know who you're talking. You're talking to a guy in Texas, right? That
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
300 miles to any direction to an actual city.
You should know then. Like, I've been to Texas. It feels like Alberta, just with, less snow. So, and women's rights, but or without
Calgary
women's
to
rights.
Vancouver is
Yeah.
10 and a half hours.
Oh,
Okay?
you're going by Google Maps? Okay, add 2 hours for that, for going through the mountains and dealing with people that get stuck behind semi-trailers.
You need a trailer to go get a cabaret?
No.
Versus-
If you're driving on Highway 1 from Calgary, like, a lot of people know that we've got a highway from one end of our country to the other, but what a lot of people don't know is there are certain places on that highway that you just don't drive. Like, if I was going to drive out to Ontario, as an example, all of Eastern Ontario, like this big giant chunk of Ontario, we legitimately, and I'm not making a joke here, we don't drive on that part of the Highway 1. We will drive through the United States and go through places like Detroit and come out on the Windsor, Ontario side. We don't drive on that part of the highway.
All I'm going to say is Liam is about to get in the car and drive for 13 hours to pick up a game. So 10 and a half seems like, I don't know.
But those are rookie numbers, man. You got 13 hours is like.
So Kate keeps reminding me that we're behind schedule. So let's do some lightning round stuff. Projects that I'm personally working on. I got a ton going on. I'm finalizing games that I'm going to send back to the media. Primal Rage needs a new flyback. That Neotech NT 2515C. Everything's great except the flyback, the focus drifts. So I've got a new one I got to pop in there. The Balicente SAC 1B cabinet that was converted to the one slot Neo Geo. I got to do the battery mod on it and repair. The kick plate got kicked in. And the Sly Spy is ready to go, except it needs new labels on the buttons. When I washed them, the ink sort of came off. So I bought a label maker that Ty told me to get that allows you to print white on transparent labels, and I can put that on the underside. So that should be good. I am going to finally be stenciling the Miss Pac-Man soon. That project's been going on for literally 2 years. Although a little piece of me is like, is there as much urgency anymore now that I got this Miss Pac Mini? I don't know. And I got to laminate the Qbert cabinets, and probably while I'm at it, laminate the chop up the laminate and put new laminate on the Moon Patrol cocktail. But why don't we go to Chance? What projects you got cooking?
So we've got a couple of things downstairs. The Nibbler in the garage.
Wait, stop.
Oh,
Adam just gifted 5 Overtime Arcade memberships. Look at this. So let's see who got them. General Strife, Arcade Hoarder, Jay Pace, Pixelated Traveler, and Dylan Conduzzi. We're all gifted channel memberships. Adam, thank you so much. So you 5 new wonderful folks, go on to the Overtime Arcade community tab on the website or whatever for the channel, and scroll down a little bit. You'll find a Discord link. If it's expired, I'll post a new one right after the live stream. Adam, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, buddy. And he had his most recent comment was, "Is Canada even real?"
Yeah, I think he just gifted those as like a distractionary tactic from me because I said I was going to report him.
Well, I'm the admin, so
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. We had some
means...
generosity here. Please continue.
Yes, thank you, Adam. Okay, so we've got the Nibbler in the garage. So hopefully, Josh and I just started on a new Netflix show, so that means more content is probably coming out from us because
Can you disclose?
I'm sorry.
No.
First of all, the Nibbler and the what?
Like what?
A garage.
Yeah. Okay.
What did you? Wait.
The garage. Hey, fellas, the garage. Well, ooh la dee da, Mr. Frenchman.
Well, what do you call it?
A car hole.
So we're gonna get demonetized now. But no, so I've got the Nibbler. I've got the Nibbler out in the car hold.
We are gonna get demonetized.
You're gonna get demonetized. I've got the Nibbler out in the car hold. So that's kind of like the first thing, or the second thing I'm gonna work on. Like I mentioned, Josh and I, for those who don't know, Josh Brown and I work in Hollywood. Essentially, we work in the film and television industry. And
you work in the Hollywood of Calgary.
We're the Hollywood of Calgary. And usually, when we're not on a show, We don't do anything. We don't even make our own content. But for some reason, the moment we sign with a new show to do what we do, all of a sudden Canadian arcade videos come out. Josh starts like messing around with a bit kit. So we've got a couple of videos in the pipeline. So that's something that we are working on.
You're moving too fast.
Mm.
I asked you this, I think, in a private message, and either you didn't respond or I don't remember what you said. Can you at least say, is it a new show or is it like a new season of an existing show?
It is a new season of an existing show.
Have you worked on this show before?
Yeah. Okay. So we're on season 2 of My Life with the Walter Boys. That's our new gig.
Oh, nice.
Right now.
Very
so
cool.
For those who don't know, it's a young adult TV show on Netflix. So that's one show that we were being courted by 2 shows. That was one of the shows.
Arcade in a mall for the show.
I see, and that's something I can't disclose whether or not we are going to do. But anytime you're going to see, if you go like on Netflix after the podcast is done, if you go on Netflix and look up My Life with the Walter Boys, almost every single time you see someone using a television, a phone, a computer, or anything, that's Josh and I in the background with our handiwork. Almost every time, because there was a couple that it's a long story. But anyway, so we just started working on a new show. So if you see more content from us coming out, it's because we're stressing ourselves to the end of time and we're doing both at the same time, which why we don't do content when we're in between shows. I don't, that's on me probably, but so anyway, so Nibbler is in the pipeline. So that's it's just as you see it in the video. If you've watched the latest Canadian arcade video, it is sitting behind a pile of junk right now. That will be probably the first thing that I work on in the garage. I got to get the garage cleaned up. Our buddy Craig has I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but our buddy Craig and I, a couple of years ago, tracked down a guy that can do CNC reproduction cabinets for us. That's where Vanessa's Tapper cabinet came from. That's where like a couple of his like Nintendo cabinets, a Killer Instinct cabinet came from. So we've got a Donkey Kong Jr. Nintendo cabinet that we have to assemble, but it's basically flat pack right now. So that's kind of in our pipeline. And then I have perpetually for the last 4 years been working on an Eldorado EM pinball machine, a Gottlieb pinball machine playfield swap. So I've kind of got most of the projects out of the way in the basement, and I can start picking away at that. So
will the Eldorado be positioned next to the El Bandito?
No. The Eldorado is going to continue to be in my little pinball row that you briefly see in my video next to our racing simulator that I'm building. But there's going to be some cool stuff coming with that. We may or may not do some content on in the future. I'm known for not doing like just standard things when it comes to reproductions or restorations sometimes, like my Purple Donkey Kong as an example. I think for that Eldorado very specifically, I've had it in the back of my head that thing kind of deserves, just with the history of that game and where it came from and how I got it, that thing kind of deserves to be like a completely rethemed version of Eldorado that's like black with different colored decals, because I got a decal kit for it, kind of like a bandit edition. It needs some cabinet work, so I haven't really got to that yet. I don't know why.
Dark mode.
Dark mode, yeah, exactly. Dark mode on that pinball machine. Now there is a group of people out there that are probably freaking out when I say that, but there's also a group of people out there who knows some of the things that I've done in the past, and like it'll be good if I do it.
I think mods are more accepted in the pinball community.
Yeah, like especially when you're doing like the armor on a cabinet, like my my Rocky and Bullwinkle that I bought off Josh a number of years ago. I did all of the armor like bright cherry red to match the red spots on the rest of the paint, and like upgraded the living out of that whole cabinet. So yeah, but that's kind of what's in my pipeline.
Well, and I think speaking of people working in the entertainment and media industry, we've got Stringer Films coming in hot with a $200 million super chat donation, finally working in cabs again. So maybe he fell into a 6-player X-Men and then the control panel closed. If you need someone to come rescue you, I think we do have some folks in the, I think you're down in Georgia, Atlanta, something like that. So we can send someone to rescue you. Of course, he means working on cabs. So excited to leave a super chat, small typo, but we appreciate that, Matt. Thank you very much. And yeah, Kay, how about you? You talked about a bunch of projects you just finished. What's on the workshop floor right now that you're cooking?
So one thing I did forget from the previous topic, I had just parted out a couple of machines that I had picked up solely to part out. They were horribly water damaged. They'd been stored in a building that literally got hit by a tornado and the roof was gone.
Wow.
So they weren't gonna make it. But I parted out some stuff out of a Super Zaxxon, got a nice control panel, marquee, and board out of it. The rest of it was just kind of a rat's nest, so I just left it. I didn't even pull the monitor. The other was a Victory Road Ikari Warriors 2. Ikari Warriors? Ikari?
Ikari.
Sure, if you want.
Well, today's the Ikari
Ikari.
episode.
Ikari.
I got Ikari 3 and you got Ikari 2.
Yeah.
It was a conversion cab. I think it was in a Stern Scramble. But I plugged it in and it worked like almost 100%. So I went ahead and pulled the monitor, marquee, board. The control panel had 2 working rotary sticks. Pulled the coin door. I got everything out of there that I could, and I was very surprised that with the condition that thing was in, even with the monitor frame was starting to rust just because of all the damage that it had, but the monitor still worked and actually looked pretty good.
And those rotary joysticks are worth money, $100 all day long at least.
Yeah, so
Wow,
I got a pair of those to keep on hand. As for stuff that's coming up, I just started today looking at a Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man pinball machine. So far, all I've done is looked at the power and saw that it wasn't getting enough of it, so the game won't boot. But everything seems complete and doesn't look like the MPU is horribly battery acid damaged or anything like that, so maybe it's salvageable. I've got a Xenon pinball to work on as well. I got a new back glass for it because it was not great. There was quite a few holes in that back glass. The play field's a little rough, but I think I've already got a buyer for it, and he's going to do all the work to fix that up. So I just have to get it a little bit nicer looking and playable, which before I bought it, it was playable, so it probably still is. I just got to do the shop out and all that good stuff before I get it to him. I've also got a Galaga that when I picked it up, the bottom fell out.
What?
Yeah, as I lifted it back on the dolly, the bottom of it just collapsed.
But that's plywood.
Yeah, and the wood dowels, it just kind of ripped out of the sides, and yeah, I mean it had already been worked on. Like it didn't have a Galaga board in it anymore. The monitor had been replaced by like an old CRT computer monitor, and it just had like a 4-in-1 board in there. So I'll be ripping all that stuff out, and it's got a lot of water damage. I'll be like cutting off the bottom 2 inches or so, building a brand new bottom for it. But the sides are okay, so I think I can salvage the rest of the cabinet. It's just the bottom's just going to have to be
chopped and
yeah, which isn't that bad, I'll get that done, and I'll put an actual CRT in it. I don't think I have an actual Galaga board, but I'm sure I can get a working replacement of some kind in there. I've also got a pair of
there's got to be. I think I have a spare floating around, or Josh has a spare. Someone, or maybe it's a bootleg. I don't know. We'll look and.
I have some bootlegs. I have some Galags. I've got like 3 or 4 of them, but I don't think it uses the same wiring harness anyway. So
no, I don't think it's.
I don't think it's. But it does have the original wiring harness in it. It just has a jam adapter. So I have a few options. I've got a pair of Cruisin' USAs that I need to get to as well. I think one of them is working and the other one needs its monitor replaced, and I think board worked on as well. So that pair is going to take a little while, but whenever I get some stuff sold out of the showroom, that'll take up a nice amount of space. I just have to figure out what other seats I want to put on there, because I only have 1 seat for a Cruisin' USA, and I have a couple other seats that are for other games that I'm going to have to try to make work. Like I've got a Fury like F1 racing seat that I'm going to have to modify to make it work. It doesn't look like it matches at all because it's red instead of black and isn't a bucket seat and doesn't look at all like it. But if you don't care if your seats match,
it'd be a rat rod.
Be a rat rod. Yeah.
So keep an eye out for those videos. Later, I believe next week, I picked up just a corner cut dynamo cab that had been turned into a multicade. I've got a guy that wants a cabinet like that for a project he's doing. So he's going to trade me an original dedicated Pac-Man that looks like it's in fantastic shape. And I think that's a fair deal all day. So,
Yeah.
And knowing how this area is and seeing how nice of the monitor it is, there's a pretty good chance that it came from me at some point anyway. So it's probably already been recapped and the preventative maintenance is already done. I'll open it up. I'll see my name and a sticker and a date saying when I did the recap. So there's a pretty good chance I'll just have to wipe it down and it's good to go.
Nice. Very
cool. In addition to the Galaga board, any other parts you're looking for? Anything you've got coming in? What does the future hold for Prime Arcade?
The future for next month is I'm on vacation, so leave me alone. I'll be going
whole
to
month?
From July 11th to 22nd. I will be in Michigan with my dad.
Okay.
Go.
It is his 50th
Wow.
high school reunion.
Wow.
And
Are you his date?
Yeah, that's where he's from, and so we've still got family up there. He's got a brother and a sister, and I've got some cousins, and I've only seen them like 2 or 3 times in my entire life. So I'm gonna take a week and a half, fly up there with them, and visit with family, and go listen to a bunch of old people talk about the old days.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah,
I love it.
I just saw in the chat there's some good arcades around Michigan. My dad is from a very tiny city in the middle of nowhere. We're not going to be anywhere around any major cities, so I'm sure there's a lot of great places to see. We won't be anywhere near any of them.
I don't know, man. Look on that new cloud map.
I think the nearest city of any like size is Flint, and I want to say that's at least an hour away.
Where are you going to be specifically?
So the city is called Caro, C-A-R-O.
C-A-R-O. Okay.
That's where his brother
I'm gonna look
lives.
it up on the clov map. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna look it up.
I also won't have a car when I'm there, so I'm not going to be very mobile anyway. We're flying in, so I'll be at the mercy of however I get around.
Okay, so I'm just.
That's like the thumb. That's the thumb of Michigan.
That is the thumb of Michigan. Yeah.
I can go to the beach. I don't know about any of the arcades there, but I can go to the beach.
Saginaw is there.
Yeah, Michigan has tons of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, compared to Canada, absolutely.
Well, I'm gonna, 100%.
Yeah, it's also real. So.
Oh, hot take. Let's look this up. Okay.
A lot of clov members in Michigan for some reason.
The thumb, right?
The thumb.
The thumb.
Yeah, the lower peninsula of Michigan is like a mitten.
Yeah, you see that? Do you see that empty area right there, right in the middle of the screen where there's nothing around? That's where I'm going to be.
But I don't see. Oh, Carol. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, no. What is this? Bavarian Inn Lodge. Okay. What do they got? Let's find out here.
Probably some supper clubs. Supper clubs.
Like a Pac-Man cocktail in the lobby.
Yeah.
Hey, the Gleek has been there. Okay. Bavarian Inn.
That is, you are in Gleek territory.
You are in Gleek territory.
Sorry, hold on. We got a malfunction. Actually, I think I can leave it.
What happened?
Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
So I can explain. This is not going to work. Hang on. I'm good.
Just rent a U-Haul truck to get around. That's a little. I mean, I'm not up there for games. There's no business. I'm not buying anything. I'm not fixing anything. I'm probably just going to drink a lot and then fly home.
What if there's an emergency and somebody's like, instead of, ladies and gentlemen, is there a doctor here? They say, does anyone know how to fix arcade games?
Nice shirt, Charlie.
Thank you.
Can I interject on something? So you're having technical problems with your camera mount, correct?
No.
So
this room is a bit echoey. This room is a bit echoey, and I don't have any acoustic panels yet. So what I thought I would do is I taped a bunch of these to the wall. These are like exercise equipment. See, there's a elliptical right there. Yeah. Clearly, I use every day. These are like exercise mats, right? And they're foam, and I taped them on the wall, and they held for a good hour and a half before falling on me.
So. Fair. Okay. So Kay, you're gonna be in Michigan for the most of July.
Yeah, don't call me.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. You don't call me back if I do. So
I'm very busy.
That's fair. I'm actually going on vacation that month too. Oh, Charlie froze.
I know. I think you can still hear me, right?
I unfortunately, but yes, you're still there. Yeah, I'll be in Europe actually we leave the 15th, 16th of July. Oh, he's back. And then we're not back until like the 30th. So I think like the next episode of the Coin Jam podcast, I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. Germany time.
Well, and speaking of waking up, where the heck is Liam?
Yeah, he should be here by now.
He should be here by now.
So the next episode will probably be, me will be live from Europe if I can figure out the hotspot and everything there, and I'll do it off my iPad. So
I'm starting to doubt his commitment to Sparkle Motion. If you get that reference, then you're my people. So what were you talking about? Sorry, I got hit in the head and I can't remember. I think Chance needs nibbler parts.
I need what do I need? Are we on that? Are we on what I'm looking for now? Okay.
Oh, look at that. Okay. This guy comes prepared.
Yeah. So graphics. So for those of you who are listening on the podcast later, not on YouTube, I'm very sorry, but I've put up a really nice graphic that looks like an old Wanted poster. Yeah. So it basically, now that Matt has hooked me up with a Wild Gunman cartridge for the PlayChoice 10, I'm just down to like all the other PlayChoice stuff that I'm looking for. Double Dragon cart, an RC Pro-Am cart, and lower on the list is a Metroid cart. I'm still looking
Great game to play standing up.
Oh, it's horrible. But it's still one of the better like PlayChoice games out there. A Dynamo cut corner panel. I know, I think it was Jerry Voluptuous had mentioned that he's got a Dynamo panel. So if I still can't find a cut corner panel, I'm probably going to take him up on that. Actually, I'm probably just going to take him up on that anyway. And then soon nibbler parts. I put that in a question mark because I don't know what I need from the nibbler yet. But if you've got nibbler parts collecting dust in the corner of your shop, just think about what you might have, because I might be interested in. I know there's someone in the States who does reproduction metal bits for the nibbler, or for like those for the Rockola cabs, but I don't think he's willing to ship to Canada. So Charlie, we might have to straw ship.
I'm happy to do that. Is there anything on the nibbler that's really like unique? Right? Does he use a weird joystick? Or
no. And again,
like Rockola stuff, but not necessarily nibbler specific.
Well, no, but for that one, we are going to do, because like the bit kit is so like good. We're going to do like a multi-bit kit board in there. So it doesn't, honestly, if even if there's just a Wicco, whatever the heck you pronounce it as. Wicco. It's not like decal or decal. It's Wicco. Okay, so we're on the same page.
This was settled when somebody found a commercial.
Oh, yeah. I remember that, the Wicco. Yeah. So I might just put a Wicco stick or whatever works in there. Or I'll ask Josh, because he's the nibbler player out of the two of us. It wasn't until like we went down to Grinkfest 7 where he was like, hey, you got to try this. This game's awesome. And then it like went to the top of my new must-have list. So so we'll get that done. We'll figure out what parts we need when we pull that out of the garage.
Isn't Deck Al? Isn't that Superman's like second uncle or something like that?
Oh, Decal.
Sorry.
All right. A little bit more on topic. Do you have any use for a Rad Racer PlayChoice 10 cart?
Does anybody?
I don't know, because we'll come back to that. I'm going to look that up on the PlayChoice list and see if it's a convertible game, or I'll try playing it. And if it is, because there's so many games from the PlayChoice era that like the NES was not really my era, other than like Double Dragon, a little bit of Zelda and Mario Brothers, all the Mario Brothers games. Other than that, I never had any interaction with anything from PlayChoice specifically. It was always the NES. So like when Matt, like he said like, hey, I can build these cartridges, like what else is on the list? And I said, well, let me look at Kung Fu, because everything else he could was basically I either he had or was on the Versus. And then I'm like, oh yeah, Kung Fu. Like I remember this game. Like, okay, let's get Kung Fu as well. So let me look up Rad Racer on the Play Choice 10 list, and I'll let you know.
It's
So,
cheap.
yeah,
Unless Rad Racer 2 is valuable on the Play Choice 10.
That's the first one. I've got two dual monitor Play Choice 10s that are in line to be restored. The Rad Racer is just an extra cart that I have lying around, so I don't.
Liam wants one, so maybe he'll make a detour to Texas on his way to where he's going.
He wants a Play Choice 10. I've got two of them, so you can just take a pick.
So let's just be clear for those that have no idea where our fourth co-host is right now. Liam lives in Maryland, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Now my mouse is dead.
Your mouse is dead. You're having the technical problems today. Like I'm fine.
This is a brand new computer setup. I'm using like old peripherals. There we go.
So Liam, for those of you who are not American, I don't know. We can pull up a map here. Hold on. Let me.
Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk.
Oh,
about
okay.
that.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay.
Yeah. Eventually, maybe, probably.
Hopefully,
maybe.
We're behind.
I got nothing going until midnight.
We have one less person here, and we're behind schedule, which is insane.
Well, and we're down to I think 4 viewers, so it's fine.
Wow! You're never supposed to say that on the actual.
No, we're doing good.
400 viewers. That's right.
That's right. Well, let me say this. So, Rad Racer, do you really want to play an arcade racing game with a joystick? Right? But yeah, you're so eager to get to the main topic, so let's take 2 minutes and get there. So I've got a bunch of stuff coming on. So I've got a very special guest coming to see me on Sunday. The one and only Dillweed is finally coming. No, I shouldn't say finally. He is coming on Sunday to pick up his games. He's got 6 cabinets worth of games he's picking up because we also worked out a pretty elaborate trade. So he's got 2 cabinets that I picked up for him, the Spacian and the Space Bugger. And then he has the Space Tactics Cockpit, which kind of counts as 2 cabinets. And then there are 2 games from my collection that will be leaving my collection and going to Dillweed's collection. They are very much Dillweed games. And I am getting 2 games and a bunch of parts. So we've got a very elaborate trade going on. So in this trade and with some other things going on, I've got no fewer than 4 more games that are heading their way to me. One of them is a Taito, and 3 of them just so happen to be Centuries. So the shirt Chance you are wearing is very appropriate. Wayne asks, is there going to be a video collab? I will certainly have Dillweed, I'll film him come into my garage and picking it up, and I'll leave it up to him. He does have a YouTube channel too. He usually does like gameplay of, original hardware, very, very rare, esoteric sort of games. So he'll probably do something with the games that he's getting. But yeah, you'll see Dillweed on my channel. My kids have been so excited because at first he was saying, oh, I'll come like after the eclipse, and literally the night after, like the night of the eclipse, my kids are like, so when's Taylor coming? And I'm like, well, after the eclipse doesn't necessarily mean like once it's over, right? He's not a a mythological figure that's appearing because of a supernatural event. Let's see. So yeah, really excited about those. Editing the Bosconian pickup video, that'll be up this weekend or hopefully tomorrow for early access by channel viewers. And I think I'm good with most of my parts. The only thing I need to do is I need to order laminate for the Kubert cabinets and the Moon Patrol cocktail. So with that, I think, gentlemen, we are finally ready to segue into our main topic for this evening, which should be a pretty interesting one. Again, I don't know if somebody wants to ping Liam in Discord and tell him to wake up, but so originally we were thinking that him and Sam would be joining us from the road because what they are literally about to embark on any minute is a great example of what we're going to be talking about, right? So the joke for the name of this episode is The Great 1,000-Mile Arcade Pickup Road Trip, because we're going to be talking about, how far is too far, how far you're willing to go for a game that's, especially one that's you consider a grail, it's top of your wish list. You already mentioned that last Sunday I drove 500 miles each way, so 1,000 round trip to Knoxville to get a game that was very much at the top of my wish list. what do you do when you get there and maybe things go sideways? Each of us I know has some pretty epic stories about some pretty epic road trips, picking up some pretty epic games. And obviously we'll want to hear from people, tell us, down in the live chat about, some of the crazy things, crazy extents that you've gone. So Chance, do you want to sort of tell the story of what Liam is about to do, Liam and Sam?
So I'm gonna bring up Google Maps here because I just want to give people context, okay? I'm not gonna tell the story because you definitely know it better than me, but I would like a visual aid. Okay, so let's get the United States going here, as I almost doxed myself. So where is
there's Washington
exactly?
Right there.
There's Washington.
Keep going. So do you see kind of like where the little A is of Alexandria, sort of there? So zoom in a bit more.
Yeah,
they're just right about there.
They're down here on the south end of Washington.
We're watching Chance learn about American geography in real time.
Okay, so we're clear. I probably know American geography than like 89 or 90% of Americans know about Canadian geography. I knew where Washington was. Yeah, okay. Well, let's go back. So anyway, so they're in the Alexandria area roughly, okay? And they are going to be traveling, how far down?
I think Miami.
Yeah, I think they're going all the way down here to Miami. Okay, so let's just go Washington. Let's ballpark it. Washington, D.C. So let's go directions. And let's go Miami. Now, this Miami. This isn't going to be a contest or anything, but let's take a look. Okay, so according to Google Maps, this is a 2-hour and 30-minute flight or a 15-hour and 11-minute trip on
without stopping for gas, without stopping for potty breaks.
Yeah,
no snacks, no lunch, no nothing.
No hard-boiled eggs, nothing.
Yeah.
If you get that reference, if you get the hard-boiled eggs reference, then you're my people.
That's John.
That's John. Yeah, we used to make fun of him on our road trips. We used to do hard-boiled eggs as well, and people, why are you eating eggs every time you go anywhere?
And pickled eggs too.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at this. So this is a 15-hour road trip, but minimum, right? So what are they going down and picking up, Charlie?
You don't know?
No.
I mean,
drugs.
I think we can tell them, right? Like they might. No. It could, maybe this is spoiling a surprise. I think they've been talking about it publicly a little bit. Because this was very, very complex. Originally they were trying to, find somebody local in Florida to maybe grab it or bring it to Fastenal or something, right? So this is, I believe, a collector who is getting out of the hobby and is starting by getting rid of their projects, right? And their projects include a Star Trek strategic operations simulator captain's chair, right? So the captain's chair, and a Road Blaster's cockpit. And those are what Liam and Sam are going to get. And these will just barely fit into the covered trailer that they got. Like, I think they've got like maybe 6 inches of clearance, right? Yeah. So very, very tight. There are some other things there that the guy has said are not for sale, including some things that are grails for almost anybody, including games that there is a legendary tale of somebody doing a warehouse raid. And this was in the basement, and the freight elevator was out of order, and they were not able to save this cabinet. And it was like 50 of them were ever produced, right?
What's that?
I don't want in case I don't want people necessarily
okay.
descend on this, right, and blow up what's going on. But yeah, at a minimum, they're getting a captain's chair and a Road Blaster's cockpit. Both projects. I guarantee you they're paying multiple more for gas than they are for the total price that they're paying for these projects. He's going to have to maybe get a 55-gallon drum of Retro Bright for this captain's chair. I know Mark Shields had a lot of luck with Retro Bright on the captain's chair because it's like white plastic that yellows very easily, just like
Yeah,
all the
like
sort
the
of
old
paint.
NES and like the old Apple computers and everything. Well, all computers.
So yeah, so they're driving. They're leaving. I think at midnight tonight to get through the sort of 95 corridor without any traffic, right? And I think they're planning on not really stopping until they get to Orlando, and they're going to do like Kennedy Space Center, tomorrow, because they're both, they both work in the space industry, right? They met at NASA, right? They met working at NASA and fell in love and got married, right? So,
fun fact: I'm not actually allowed back in the state of Florida.
Why would you want to?
Yeah, exactly. Like the only reason I'll ever go back to the state of Florida, the only reason is to watch a space to anything NASA. That's it. But like the state of Florida, like
not to derail us.
Yeah,
I went to space camp as a kid.
Did you?
And I went to the one that's in Florida. They have one in Alabama and one in Florida. And I got to see the 1 week that I was at space camp, I got to see both a launch and we saw another shuttle that was on the back of a 747 coming back from California. Because sometimes they would land in California. And like the bus driver like saw this and like pulled over the side of the road. He's like, I lived in Florida my whole life and I've never seen that in person. The piggyback on the 747.
Yeah. Every time I see a picture of that, I just like resent every time I've been charged extra for baggage on a flight. So anyway,
it fits in the overhead compartment.
Yeah, right. But they're going to charge me $25 extra to check a bag now, and it's like you literally on the same kind of plane you can haul the space shuttle on top. So good. Yeah.
Back in the good old days when the United States of America had a manned spaceflight program. Wayne is saying you've got warrants in Florida, so you got to tell us why you were been declared a persona non grata.
It's a long story. It's not officially. I will never go back. I'm sorry if you're from Florida and you're listening to this or watching this. If you've now canceled your membership to the channel, I hate Florida. Florida and me do not get along, with the exception of the space program. I think it's the only reason I. So
Florida didn't ban you. You banned Florida.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So for those of you who don't know, I've been a competition paintball player for like paintball, like with the paintball markers, for like the better part of the last 24 years. Yeah. And so anyway, we were down there in 2006, something like that, for a paintball tournament, or maybe it was a little 2009. I don't know. We were down there. 2007 for a paintball tournament. And we got into a little bit of trouble. So while we were there, because you're there for a week.
I was just typing it out on my super loud blue switch keyboard.
Yeah.
But I can just say it and said, if Alberta is the Texas of Canada, which province is the Florida of Canada?
Oh, that's a good question. We don't really have one. Nothing is that bad. And I rag on Ontario and I rag on Edmonton and I rag Edmonton's a city, just for anyone who doesn't know. Yeah, no idea. Especially if you're a hockey fan. I rag on a lot of places in Canada because I'm Albertan and it's just like it feels natural to do so. But I don't think we have a Florida. I really don't think we do. It's kind of like your God's waiting room. It's where old people go to die. We don't really have that. They leave Canada to go to places like Yuma and Florida, right? So
America is Canada's Florida.
Florida is Canada's Florida.
Okay.
So, or Yuma, if you're in like the around the Mexican border. So Yuma is kind of like the snowbirds go down there too.
So this 1,000-mile round trip that I did, it just recently broke my record for my longest. So that was 1,000 miles each way. I had done 900 or 1,000 miles round trip. I had done 900 round trip a couple of times. That would have been Cincinnati. And usually I'm doing it for like, it's not a dedicated trip. I'm going there anyway. My Sly Spy quarterback I got for free. That was like 850-mile round trip near the Groton submarine base in Connecticut. But Kay, what's the farthest you've ever gone to pick up a game? Or conversely, what's the farthest one of your customers has come to pick up a game from you?
It's a good question.
I think the furthest someone has come to get a game would be from Alabama. Alabama to West Texas is probably It's going to be more distance than what Sam and Lena were driving today.
Well, hold on. Let's look it up. We've got, okay. So where in West Texas are you again, Kay?
Odessa.
Oh, I know. Odessa. Odessa. Oh, double D?
Odessa.
Yeah. Odessa. Okay, so Calgary to Odessa. No, let's go from Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, I put in Atlanta just to get like extreme eastern Alabama. That's 16 hours.
Well, Atlanta would be Georgia.
Yeah, but it's basically Alabama.
Okay,
right?
so
Red Stringer.
That's about the same. So that looks roughly, give or take, an hour from what Liam and Sam. So Liam and Sam, again, we're not going to make this a competition, but
Why
Liam
not?
and Sam. Well, okay, we can. I don't know. It's kind of like the points don't matter.
These
and
games
there's
keep
no
score
winners.
for a reason.
Yeah. Okay. I thought it was like whose line is it anyway? Okay. So
This ain't T-ball.
well, but we have to clarify something. The 15-hour drive or the 14-hour drive that we're talking about here from Alabama to Odessa, that's one way, right? So there's two things that we have to talk about. Yeah, well, you can look at a map. It's a 15-hour round trip or a 15-hour drive, but what's the round trip and what's the actual time? Because I think that the story is important here.
Because I mean, once you're at this kind of distance, you're not going to go there and back in a day, right? Like Knoxville and back by yourself.
Hold my
right?
beer.
Knoxville and back is about as far as I could do. I could maybe push it and get to Nashville and then come back.
Yeah.
But you want to think about safety, especially if you're towing something or you've got got a bunch of cabs in the back, whatever. You don't want to be liable if you fall asleep or something like that, right?
Yeah, I guess. So 14 hours roughly, Kay, you were saying, from Alabama.
So here's the fun part of the story. They only came for one cabinet. Take a guess at what it was.
Galaga?
Zaxxon.
It was a 60-in-1.
In a generic cabinet?
Yes, in an 8-liner cabinet.
They don't got that in Alabama?
So I will say that I don't think they came
Mm.
from Alabama to get it. I think they were in the area and they took it to Alabama.
Was this before or after you blew up on TikTok? Because maybe they went because they wanted one from you.
This was before I hit my fame. So I guess they just didn't have Google and weren't able to look up what this thing was and how common it is. So
It's like there's people that will travel a far distance to get a burger from Gordon Ramsay, right?
Yeah.
I am the Gordon Ramsay of 60-in-1s. I think I'm going to play it on my business card.
Can we do a shirt for you that says the Gordon Ramsay of? That's great. But
It's kind of like if you're a good chef, you should be able to make something simple like a burger, right?
Yeah.
You do it really well,
Yeah.
I do make a pretty good burger. To answer the other half of your question, I don't really travel for machines because I'm not much of a collector. I'm not looking for anything for myself. So the machines that I'd be picking up would be for the business. And the further you get, the less cost effective it is to go get it. So
Yeah.
It's got to be
Not
meat on
only
the
it's-
bone.
yes, it's not only about, the gas and mileage, but also the time that, it's the opportunity cost of what I could be doing at the shop instead of driving, 600 miles to pick up a $50 Pac-Man. Is it really worth it at that point? There will be other Pac-Mans. I can wait. The only machines that I have bought for myself that were such a distance that it would have been quite a road trip, I had them shipped to me anyway. I bought my drum simulator from Las Vegas on eBay, just had it shipped to me. I bought a Dance Dance Revolution from California, just had it shipped to me. Those are the only machines I've had shipped to me.
Where in California?
I don't know. This was like 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even have a truck yet at the point, so going to get it wasn't an option anyway. But even if it had been, I still would have had it shipped to me. This was at a time when shipping wasn't that bad. So even having an entire Dance Dance Revolution shipped to me from California to Texas was maybe like $500. So
yeah. Well, because Las Vegas to Odessa is 14 hours. We're still talking to that same 14-hour trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if I was going to go get it, I mean, Odessa doesn't have much of an airport, but Las Vegas is one of the places that it does fly directly to. I could go there, rent a truck, and drive it back.
Yeah, which is a 2-hour flight according to this, and then a 15-hour roughly drive coming back.
All things that I probably wouldn't do because that's going to take up several days that I could spend doing other work and make the money that way. The furthest that I really go, just for projects and things like that, all the auctions that I go to are in the DFW area. That's about 300 miles. So about a 6-hour drive, roughly 5 or 6 hours. And I make that trip every couple months. But I really won't go much further than that because at that point, it's not worth the time and the money at that point. There are other machines that I will find.
And you're not going to go there for a Pac-Man, right? You're going to go and get a trailer full.
Yeah. Whenever I go to the auctions, I fill my truck.
Yeah.
And I can fit 8 standard upright cabinets in my truck if I have a couple riding on the lift gate. And that makes it worth the trip. I always leave a day early because the auctions are on Saturday morning. So I leave on Friday. I usually go hit up a couple places Friday night. I pass through my hometown on the way to and from, so I could stop and have dinner with my family or whatever. I make a weekend out of it, so it's a little bit of a pleasure mixing with the business. So it makes for a nice couple of days. But other than that, like unless I find a really smoking deal and it's something that I can do, there and back in a day, without it really, putting too much stress on me or my vehicle, I probably won't do it.
So your max is about a 5-hour trip, and just
one way.
One way, okay. And just to be clear, because you said DFW, for any Canadians who aren't aware, DFW is Dallas Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you have to look that up?
Yeah.
So the major cities in Texas would be Dallas Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin, Houston. Houston is about an 8-hour drive from me. That's too far. But the other 3 are about 5 hours. Any deals that are going to be found there are going to be picked up by somebody else before I can get there anyway.
Yeah.
Those are hot spots. There's plenty of other people who are going to jump on a great deal. It's unlikely I'm going to find anything there and be able to get it in time before someone else jumps on it. So I don't even really look in those areas for much of anything. I've done deliveries to those areas. If someone's willing to pay my mileage, I'll pretty much deliver wherever you want. But that's pretty rare too. Yeah, not Alabama. No.
Well, because our friend Mark Shields is off in that area. He's off in Houston.
Isn't he Houston? I think
I should know this. Like I've had him send me stuff.
He's got the Uncle Rico van. He's got the DeLorean, and he's got the kit.
He's got the kit. He used to have the A-Team van as well, which is pretty cool. But no,
did he trade that in for Uncle Rico's van?
I don't know. I have no idea. But his Uncle Rico's van, like if you've seen the movie, his is the actual screen used Uncle Rico's van, which is kind of cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like his is legit. No, I sent shotgun parts to, because one of the companies I buy shotgun parts from is in the same town as him, and he forwarded them off to me. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So I would probably drive a decent distance if I found a nicely priced RoboCop pinball or like a Warlords. One of the things that's on my list, but I'm not really actively seeking. It's one of those things that kind of has to fall into my lap.
That's fair.
And Chance, you've had some epic road trips. So what's your kind of max? What's the farthest you've gone?
I would say that I haven't had a max. Okay, so we're gonna bring the map up here. So this is the Mercator. If you know what a Mercator map is.
You're gonna have to bring up the map if you're talking about Canada.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. So
because I mean, what the hell's a kilometer?
I should get that as a. We keep bringing that up. I should get that as a soundbite. So Dallas, Fort Worth, Odessa, Texas, we've got here on the map right now. So just to compare, so your max distance is about 4 hours, 5 hours. That's roughly, that's less than Calgary to Vancouver. So okay, let's go Regina. My actual traveled distance, my farthest to pick up a game, is not Regina to Odessa. That's 22 hours. Calgary. Okay, so we're gonna go Calgary, Alberta, Regina, Saskatchewan. So this is, I would say one of the two. I've done like 4 or 5 trips where it was like, I absolutely need this game. It's on the list. I'm going. And one of them was what became my Purple Donkey Kong. That was to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. It was just outside of Saskatoon. But I'm not going to show it on the map, but it was like, there was like a really bad snowstorm. It was the middle of the winter. And that was like, I want to say it was like 18 hours round trip because I had to go through some of the smaller roads. For visuals, Canada is different in America in a lot of ways, but one of the big things that I notice when I spend time in the States is that when you're on a highway, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but anytime I've ever noticed it, with the exception of like Arizona and some parts of California, when you're on a highway as a Canadian, things just don't stop. Things just like towns just bleed into other towns, and there's always something on the side of the road to stop at for the most part. But in Canada, like everything is spread apart. Like if you look at our map, everything is spread apart. And
I think that's true about interstates, right? As long as you're on interstate corridors. And I think like not, before the interstate system, that wasn't necessarily true. And a lot of those towns kind of grew up around the interstates.
Yeah, 100%. And but here we don't have like the interstate system. We've got one major highway that goes from one end of Canada to the other. Yeah, Trans-Canada Highway, which I mentioned earlier in the show, is probably one of the worst roads in our country at certain parts.
You mean it's not just 95 horizontal?
No, it's a joke. Like it literally, like if I go out where I am in Calgary, if I go out, 300 yards from my house across the park, I'm on what we call in Calgary is 16th Avenue, which is Highway 1 cutting through the middle of Calgary. So, which is nice for me, but unless I've got to go to Ontario, we just, or I've got to go out east, we just fly.
It's not 4 lanes in either direction.
Sometimes,
exits only, no stoplights, no.
Well, here's the thing. Like, no, Canada's huge. Like, we're the second biggest country in the world, right?
Yeah.
We are massive, but our population just hit 40 million people or around that. So you have to think that's like the population of California.
Isn't that the population of Tokyo?
Well, pretty much. So like here's the thing with Canada, and this is one of the things that why we pay so much for our cell phones, why we pay so much for our flights, why our roads and our infrastructure isn't great, because we've got this massive chunk of land, but we don't have the population that can kind of support the same level of cost benefit when it comes to infrastructure and cell phones and communications and flights and all that stuff. So anyway, and shipping something here in Canada is a lot worse. It's actually cheaper for me to ship things to the States than it is for me to ship to Canada. But anyway, so I digress. So the longest trip that I've ever taken out of all of them, and I've done this a few times, we have an episode of the Canadian Arcade, a road trip to Saskatchewan. It's a really old video. But Cody and I, we traveled. Josh, just for clarification, and I'm calling him out on this, Josh will never go on a road trip with me to Saskatchewan. I don't know if it's a bias that he has, but he'll never go.
Is he banned in Saskatchewan?
No, maybe it's just you.
No, but like we'll go on other road trips, but like he won't, like our buddy Cody, who's in a few of our episodes. Cody's the crazy one. He'll message me at like 2 a.m. Chance, I found this. Let's go right now. Right.
That was Mark. And also, anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, but actually that's not true. Josh's Burger Time, he drove up to Edmonton, which on the map here, you can kind of see it up here. He drove up to, my map's not up. He drove up to Edmonton right here on the north end of Calgary. So that's like what, a 3.5 hour drive. He did that to go pick up a really good deal for a Burger Time in like the worst weather that we had that winter, and survived somehow. It was a close call according to him.
Well, and Edmonton is the northernmost like major Canadian city, right?
No. We've got Yellowknife is
but that's not the same.
Yeah, well, but it's not like the same population. But we've Yukon. Yellowknife is more north than Anchorage, Alaska. So Yellowknife.
Yeah, but I don't mean like it's technically a city. I mean like Edmonton is a major city.
But it's still a major population. Yeah, okay, I'd say like big time city. Yeah.
Skyscrapers and international airport.
Yeah, Edmonton would be on that. And so like we've got our major highways going in and amongst them. But so to answer your question, yeah. So I would say the longest I've gone to go get a game and come back, it was probably an 18-hour round trip. So it says 7.5 hours on here, but Cody and I were in for like 16, 18 hours by the time we were back. And then when I went to Saskatoon, which to pick up, and oh, by the way, to pick up that trip, we've done a couple of times, but one of them, just to show you how hopeless I am with Nintendo cabinets. This is what we picked up. Oh, that's not it. This is the gallery from that episode. We went and picked up a red tent, which is this dilapidated piece of junk, which has now been mostly restored in my basement. But it was missing a monitor, it was missing a control panel, and then I substantially overpaid on eBay for the missing parts. But anyway, screwed that up there. Okay, hold on. So anyway, so that was like a 16-hour, 17-hour round trip. I've done Saskatoon, which is a 16, 17-hour round trip for my blue Donkey Kong cabinet or my purple Donkey Kong cabinet. But that's really about it. As far as like traveling to go see a game, that's a different story. So if anybody here knows, like that, to pick up a game, I think is one thing, but to go see a specific game that's on your list that you have to play.
Just to play,
because I want to bring this up because this was important. Vanessa and I, it wasn't like the main reason that we went, but we went to England, and part of the reason we went to England was to meet up with Alex.
Yeah, Skyskipper.
For Skyskipper. Or no, not Sky. Well, he's Skyskipper as well, but to play his sheriff and to see his sheriff collection, which was a big deal for me.
Didn't you say there's like 500 sheriffs in Alberta?
No. There's we only later found out after that trip. I think we went to, I want to say that was like 2016, 2018 that we went to Europe. And because of that video on the Nintendo Arcade, when we did our road trip to London, I was reached out to by a collector in the Phoenix, Arizona area. He had picked up a Hellfire and a Sheriff Cocktail, messaged me, and he says, "Hey, I'm from Calgary originally. I watch your channel." He's like, "I got something for you. Let's make a deal." So, and then we shipped those up to the border, and we did an episode of going to the border to pick that up, which, again, on our map,
was it Sweetgrass or something, or what's the?
Yeah. So if you're gonna leave Calgary, this is your geography lesson. Sweetgrass, Montana is one of our two locations. This is a 3-hour drive down there, and we've done that a number of times. That's where we've got my 1942 in the Space Encounters cabinet that you see in all of our recent videos. We did a video on that. Our buddy Craig and I, we've gone down there a couple of times for games. So we go to either Sweetgrass or we go to Eureka, Montana as well for, just across the border to get things if we need to ship something and we don't have someone like Charlie to do that for us.
So for these epic road trips, any tips, right? Any tricks like logistics, what to bring, rules of the road, like what would you, if someone is going to do this for the first time, they've never done it before, what advice would you guys offer to somebody like that?
I would say bring a small set of tools. Like, don't fix the game when you get there. Like ever.
Yeah,
When you
better have a
show
screwdriver.
up. And that's even if you're going across the street to get a game and it's not working, don't fix it in front of the guy because the price goes up twice as much, right? But take
screwdriver,
ratchet. I would say a small socket set, like a deep and a narrow socket set, just some basics, right?
Yeah. Some
because
screws is good too.
Screws
if you need
is
to attack the back door.
So to explain why you would need some of these tools, because once you get the game, the first thing that you should do before you leave is, like, once the deal has been made, cash on the glass, whatever it is, the absolute first thing that you do, and I mean this with the most severity possible, you check that monitor is secure. That was a little aggressive.
Good
You
job
check-
trimming your nose hairs this month.
Thank you. You check that monitor is secure, because I've heard so many horror stories of people traveling, picking up a game, even locally, where it's just like the monitor fell out like 20 minutes down the road and necked the monitor. So the first thing that you do before you leave, before you load it into your vehicle, you crack the back open. You can, if you can, unless it's like an IKEA start the car moment. You crack the back open. You just check, and if you've got a screwdriver, never count on the person selling to have tools. You have the right socket for the average socket, small socket set. To make sure the bolts are in. Make sure that nothing's floating around in the back of the cabinet. You pull that out so it's not going to smash the tube or the board.
Yeah, and you don't want like loose bolts and stuff bouncing around. They could, smash something up the board or whatever. Well, and right, like another thing is maybe you don't want the cabinet to be, or the monitor to be secure. Maybe you want to pull the monitor, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're moving it in a pickup truck, maybe you've got to go, up a flight of stairs. Like when I moved my when I got my dual monitor Play Choice 10, you better believe I pulled both of those monitors out before humping that thing up the stairs, right?
Yeah.
So bring tools so you can remove monitors, put them maybe in the cab of the truck, right? And then load the cabinet. It'll be a lot lighter without the monitor. Like the monitors are like they change the center of gravity. If you can take the monitor out safely and put it in your car safely, that can make things a lot easier too.
Well, I mean, if you put a monitor face down on your
Hold on, breaking news. Liam, where are you?
Still home, getting ready to leave.
There you go. How was your nap?
What a buildup.
Nap was fine. Didn't get much
So
sleep. Too excited.
Literally what we're talking about right now is basically what you should be doing. What's the checklist?
Yeah.
Before you leave the house, what should you have? What tools, what materials, and what should you plan for when you get there?
Look how happy his face is. I've never seen this man this happy before.
Picking up his captain's chair. That's where
I know.
And
Very
stopping
excited.
on the way for a 55-gallon drum of Retro Bright.
And hard-boiled eggs.
So yeah, actually, it's a good question about the checklist because we have a checklist going, and right now in the trailer we have dolly, 2 piano carts, a whole ton of moving blankets, a whole thing of ratchet straps and bungee cords. In the car, we got a toolbox with a power drill, socket sets in various sizes, duct tape in case we need it. And then we have a cooler.
Don't forget
with
some screws.
a ton of water.
In case you have to attach a back door, have screws.
Yeah. Ton of water, ton of energy drinks, Gatorade.
What
various
snacks? What's
Yeah.
what's the good snacks?
And get them while you're on the road. So just go to the grocery store and get a whole thing full of snacks. Put that in the back of the car.
Well, and that brings up another thing. And I don't know if we want to turn this into a tier list video, but and Kay can probably weigh in on this unless he doesn't like it. Like in my mind, there are like different echelons of gas stations, right? And around here, there's tons of 7-Elevens, and that's very, as the kids would say, mid, right?
I mean, when you're driving a car as fuel inefficient as mine is, the top tier of gas station is always the cheapest, no matter
whichever one you got, right? But then there's around here we have Wawa and Sheetz, which are definitely above average for gas stations. They both have food that you'd actually be willing to eat and feed your children, right? Like subs and whatever. But Kay lives in Texas, and they do things a little bit different in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, including the gas stations.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kay, can you tell us, are you a fan of Buc-ee's? What are your Buc-ee's stories?
The nearest Buc-ee's is 300 miles from me.
Do you have a Flying J
Never mind.
nearby?
Oh, yeah, there's Flying J's in the area. That's
Okay.
usually the stop. There's one right outside my hometown. So
We got a Flying J in Calgary, and it was like the best thing ever.
I'll tell you, I've never actually been to a Buc-ee's. I've never.
You
even-
need to. So if people out there don't know, tell them what a Buc-ee's is, Kay.
Okay, Buc-ee's is his own small city. Most of them have at least 100 gas pumps, usually more than that. It's giant. They have fresh food that's being made, any drink that you can name. It's just a gas station on steroids.
It's like the size of a Walmart.
Yeah, I personally don't get the appeal because I don't go to a gas station for food. I'll just drive through something after I leave the gas station. There's just a lot of people you got to wade through to get to what you can get at any other gas station. Clean bathrooms, I'll give them that.
They look
but-
like NFL locker rooms. The bathroom.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
showers, the whole thing.
but it's not anything you couldn't get at like any other truck stop.
They have an entire wall of beef jerky.
They
What?
do, and they also have an
entire
entire gift shop. But I
They have
don't
merch.
need I don't need a stuffed beaver. I don't need a shirt that says it's 1 o'clock somewhere. I don't need any of that.
They have-
so,
Hey man,
they
everybody
have-
needs a stuffed beaver.
The best gas station barbecue you'll ever have.
that is true. They do have some pretty decent barbecue sandwiches, but
They
you
have
can also
hot
go
nuts.
to an actual restaurant. They have beaver
The-
nuggets. That's what
The
you're
hot nuts the beaver nuggets are great. And beaver nuggets, if you're not familiar, are basically like puffed corn, almost like giant pieces of cereal, and then those are like honey roasted, honey glazed, right? And they're
So
great.
this is more of a Southwest thing, but I am more partial to Allsup's. That's where you go for fried burritos. That's what they're most famous for. And if you grew up in the area that I grew up in, Allsup's is your jam. So I would recommend that if you are. That's more of a Southwest thing. That's West Texas, Arizona, New Mexico kind of thing.
What?
But Buc-ee's is the one that everybody knows. I don't really get the appeal. It's just I don't like people, and there's too many of them there.
What about
Here,
what
here.
about fast food like Whataburger?
No.
Butterburger's pretty good. I would put it above In-N-Out, but people have
Yeah.
also told me that In-N-Out is a California restaurant. If you eat it outside of California, you're not eating the real In-N-Out. But In-N-Out doesn't have bacon, so In-N-Out sucks.
Yeah, so one of the nice things about being unbiased, about not being from California or Texas specifically, is like whenever we travel, I'm like, I've got to go and try one of the fast foods that I've seen. I'm gonna get hate for this. Whataburger, In-N-Out. Like In-N-Out's good, but Whataburger is like
Look, if you just want to drive through
Oh.
and grab a quick burger, Whataburger is going to be your option. But if you want a really good burger, like go to Five Guys or Fuddruckers.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Did anyone teach you how to order from Five Guys? Because you can't order off the menu.
Five Guys.
You
sucks.
have to. I mean, no, from
Are you talking
from,
about In-N-Out?
from
Yeah,
In-N-Out.
the secret menu. You know, I
The
want
secret
double
menu from
animal
In-N-Out,
style. Yeah, they still don't have bacon at the end of the day. So
When you try and buy Five Guys with the secret menu here in Canada, they look at you like you're an idiot. They're like,
That maybe is just your personal experience.
well, people look at me like I'm an idiot all the time, but I'm used to it, so I know what it like when it's legit.
Now, how about road trip companions, right? I often am driving solo because I'm driving for work, right?
Yeah, I've got
Sometimes
the
I bring my kids, but I usually only bring my kids on local stuff. Liam, you're about to embark with your life partner as your road trip co-pilot. So how does that sort of change the equation for something like that?
makes it all that much nicer as we can keep each other company, listen to audiobooks and such, and take turns driving. Even though we're taking my car today, and she doesn't like driving it very much.
And will your four-legged friend be joining you?
No. Ripley is not coming with us. That would be so much extra time due to stops to take care of the dog. The longest trip she's come with us on was to go get the 6-player X-Men in New York. She came with us on that trip.
Are you going to stop at? Well, what? I gotta ask this because I'm a nerd. What NASA stuff are you guys going to look at while you're down there?
We're stopping at Kennedy.
Nice. Okay, that's the only reason I'll go back to Florida is because I didn't get a chance to see Kennedy when I was there last.
Well, actually, we've seen every other space shuttle, so this is going to be our last shuttle.
Ah.
We're going to see Atlantis.
Jealous. Atlantis is like my last one on my list as well. So,
And
that's
the
cool.
nice thing is because we get to go in for a discount. So
Yeah,
I'm
because you're
excited
NASA
for that.
employees.
Exactly.
Okay, so I can just interject really quickly because you're here. I get to see the brand in a couple of weeks.
Well, fuck you.
Yeah. You gotta.
So you're in Germany.
Yeah, I'm going to Germany in 2 weeks.
Charlie's got his work cut out for editing this one.
I went
Yep,
the
yep,
whole
yep.
episode and I didn't swear like legit. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's-
the Baran is the last.
But you're going to
thing
get me a copyright strike.
I've
Yeah.
wanted to see one for a long time.
Dude, as soon as like Vanessa asked me where do you want to go on our trip that's between this date and this date, like I was like looking and I'm like, oh, there's a Baran.
Actually, hold on. I have something for this.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the Soviet
is a heat shield tile from the Baran.
Oh, that's wicked. Okay, we've got to clarify what the Baran is, because I don't know if a lot of people are going to know this. So the
Buran.
The Buran. If you've ever played Tetris on the Game Boy, you've seen the Baran. The Baran is the Soviet Russia knockoff. It was Soviet. Okay, long story short, the plans and whatnot for the space shuttle were not classified, and sorry.
The Baran is actually completely different internally than the shuttle.
Yeah. It's an upgrade. It's like the shuttle 2.0. So why am I talking to you about this? You're the expert. But I'm paraphrasing from an idiot's perspective who's just a fanboy. The Baran is the Soviet version of the space shuttle. Yes. It looks very similar. It doesn't have engines on the back. It is just an orbiter. And it was substantially.
How many times did it go to the moon?
What? None of them went to the moon. But and then the Baran only flew once, and it was anyway. So I think there's only 3 Barans. There's 2 that are sitting in Kazakhstan in a dilapidated hangar, and then there's the test article, which is sitting in a German museum for some reason, and you can actually like walk up in and around it. So
the first one, the one that flew, was destroyed.
Yeah.
The test article is in Spire.
Yeah.
There are 2 that were nearly completed in the MZK building in Baikonur.
That's in Baikonur, yeah.
There's one at the Moscow airport, actually. It's just off to the side.
I did not know about that.
And there is yet another one that's in less complete. I forget exactly where it is, but it's out there. It's in Russia. You can't get to it.
Can I ask a question that, please don't take this as intending to jinx you, Liam. But what happens if you get there and something's wrong? And I'm saying this not specifically for your trip, but just in general.
This is an educational question.
You've driven all this way, and either the goods aren't what they were represented as, or all the way to the extreme of the seller just ghosts you.
What happens if there's termites?
Well, okay. Well, for one thing, as far as this particular cabinet goes, it looks like it's been stored underwater, so my expectations are low. But
this is like the Enterprise once it crashed into the Genesis planet.
Yes.
This has happened to us before, though. When we bought our Joust cabinet, when we got there, it was not what was described. Unfortunately, because we had driven so far and we really wanted the Joust, we ended up buying the thing anyway, but we sort of blacklisted that seller afterward.
Oh, it was like a collector that sold that to
you? Sort of.
Can I call something out here really specifically? If you're in the hobby, like, it's one thing to like travel distance, whether it's across the street or across the country to go pick up a game, and the person who has it is not in the hobby, and it's not represented the way that you like, it's not obviously represented the way you want it. But if the other person is a collector, you're absolutely right. That person needs to be blacklisted. That's a dick move. Can we say dick on this channel? We can't say dick on this channel.
Say it 4 more times and see if it changes.
I need to say dick on this channel. He's writing it down in the document.
I'm looking forward to seeing this guy's collection.
Okay. Sorry,
all this extra work I have to do. All this extra work. See, there's no producer, right?
That's me. Why is that a bad word?
And this is a family-friendly podcast.
Okay, but what if I say one of my favorite shows, one of my favorite actors of all time is Dick Van Dyke?
That's different. Context matters.
Sorry if you mean a schlong.
What? Come on.
Anyway, continuing on.
Where were we?
Liam. We were talking about Liam.
What happens if something goes wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the question I want right now, actually.
So for me, right? Because I told the story about going and getting the bubbles, Right?
Yeah.
I didn't tell you it's a Bubbles. Did I tell you? Yeah. Did I? Did I mention it was Bubbles?
We
Yes.
talked about bubbles, yes.
Yeah. And I was worried, right? So 18 minutes after I got the alert, I was on the road, and the seller gave me the address, said, yeah, come and get it. But yes, please, somebody super chat so we can kill Chance's mic.
Okay.
I was worried, right? All I had was like 1 or 2 messages from the sellers, like, yeah, come and get it, right? And I'm embarking on a 500-mile drive. And fortunately, 2 hours into it, they reconfirmed, right? And I said, hey, here's my updated ETA. They acknowledged it, and they said, yep, we're good to go. And then half an hour out, I gave it to them again, like, yep, I'll head over right there right now and meet you. So I felt good, and I got there, and it was very remote, and I got onto the street, and then the GPS like loses signal, right? And I can't. Anyway, I had to like look. I was like driving slowly. Like, what's the number on that mailbox? Nope. Let me drive a couple more houses. What's the number on that mailbox?
Like they had to
They
do
were
it back
there.
in the old days.
The old days, right? But I felt really reassured every time that I would text them or message them. And
Yeah, and I've been talking with the seller of the Star Trek for days, and just actually got off the phone with him right before getting on the podcast. So we're all
good.
Sweet. And you said he was a collector, right?
Yeah.
Because we were talking about you and this at the very beginning of the show, or like I think at the top of the show. And Charlie didn't want to let too much of it out. What do you want to talk about? What's there? Like,
what's there for me is an opportunity to learn about something new. I've never worked on a G80 system before. I've not touched a G08. I am interested in how those are different from the Atari vectors. I'm really excited to be piecing this thing together, because as far as I know, both of these machines, there are 2 machines that we're actually picking up. The Focus, obviously, is the captain's chair, but there's also a Road Blaster's cockpit as well, which is a pretty interesting machine. We've never owned a cockpit of any kind, so it's going to be interesting in working on those systems in general. But I am really looking forward to the sort of longer form project that's going to be putting this whole thing back together. That Star Trek is going to need a new cabinet, or at least new panels in a lot of places, so I'm going to have to learn some new skills to put that together, and never mind fixing all the electronics. But
so now the Road Blasters, it's complete, like, well, both games they're complete, ready to go.
So the Road Blasters does have the monitor in it, does have that magnifying bezel.
Nice.
The controls are there. It just needs a lot of TLC, some bondo, and new art.
What were you saying, Chance?
Repair.
Chance was yapping, and we finally got a super chat from Jerry Voluptuous, $999 million super chat donation to both mute Chance and to put some money in the swear jar for all of the FCC and whatever the Canadian version of that, Federal Trade Commission, Commission Federale Canada. Yeah, exactly. All of the fines we're going to have to pay. So thank you, Jerry. Really appreciate it, buddy. And thanks for the favor you're doing for me, too. Really appreciate that as well.
Yeah,
you're back.
Yay. Oh, where were we?
Yeah, so to kind of keep it moving, on the outline. So the question was, what if something goes wrong? I wrote next to it murder. That's just what I wrote.
Yeah.
Have you ever had something go wrong on a pickup?
If you're in a different state and you commit murder and then go back across state lines, isn't that a federal crime?
No, it's fine.
No,
you're out of jurisdiction at that point.
Oh, okay.
So I've never really had
the border.
I've never really had a seller no call, no show me. Typically they want the money, they want the game gone, so they'll be there. But I do plenty of confirmations. I make sure I have an exact date and time of when I'm going to be there. I confirm before I leave. It's pretty rare that I get kind of ghosted on that. When it comes to buyers, that has not always been the case. I have had machines that I sold I had sold, but I hadn't gotten payment yet. I was supposed to get payment on arrival, and then they no call, no showed.
Well,
And now for any out of town first time buyers, I require a deposit, so that if they do no call no show, I'm not necessarily out the mileage or whatever. I just took the game out for a ride, and I have had people that hear that and don't follow through with the sale. I'm sorry if you don't understand that rule and you're not willing to pay $200 when you're buying a $1,500 game just up front, then that's a little shady to begin with anyway. So I might be
Should
doing
I go get my
myself a favor.
Varcon t-shirt? Did
Not
you
everyone's
guys
gonna get that reference, but yes,
I thought about wearing it. I did get one of the Varcon t-shirts.
Did you really?
Summarize that story.
I was so late to the game on that. I had to have someone paraphrase it to me, and I was just like, "Come on."
But it's kind of what Kay was describing, and even then, the seller, screwed over the person that made a deposit and arranged pickup and everything.
So yeah, that's mostly for the sales that I make, and that's just to protect myself. And luckily, that hasn't gone sideways for having something go wrong and then them asking for the deposit back or anything like that. I haven't had to deal with anything like that. Most of those sales have gone through without a hitch. But it's because of experiences where I go to sell something and hadn't gotten payment yet, and I show up and nobody's home and no one answered his phone, and I don't hear from them for hours, that I now require a deposit on any kind of out-of-town deliveries.
How many times has that happened?
It happened 2 or 3, and that was enough. Luckily, they weren't that far. It's usually like the next town over. And for sales that are local, if they say they'll pay cash on arrival, I usually just take the chance and put it in the back of the truck and drive it over, because even if they're not there, I'm not out much time or gas or anything like that. So I'll take the chance to make a cash sale, especially if it's someone I've dealt with before. But anything out of town, if it's a first time buyer, I need a deposit.
Sorry, they were talking about Whataburger in the chat, and I just had to.
You make me hungry.
Oh, it's so good. Oh,
I am just down the street from a Whataburger, and I can order it on the app and just go pick it up.
Oh, dude, the onion rings and the burgers are like that big. Like, that's so good.
Have you guys ever had? Another question we got asked was, have you after the sale, after you've picked something up or dropped it off, have you ever had a buyer or a seller follow up with you? I don't know. Maybe it's like, oh, I just want to make sure you got home safely, or
follow you down the road.
Yeah, something like that.
Several times we've had sellers reach out to us about games. The most notable was Firefox. I think we talked with him months after we brought the game home. Mostly because he had a very emotional connection to the machine, and he wasn't able to fix it. He tried, and that's why he ultimately sold it. But he sold it to us for basically nothing, and with the promise that if we fixed it, we would send him footage of it. So we did, and it got passed around his whole friend group, and they were all very happy to see that the machine worked again.
Nice.
We also recently got followed up with Sinistar after we fixed it. The seller saw our video on it and reached out and said that he was happy that we got it going so quick. And Steve in the chat asks about that same video about Adam's family. We did end up getting it completely fixed, and it is being played daily. So
yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. But that's like one of those nice things. Go ahead.
I've literally never had a seller do anything afterwards, right? Other than I'll send them a note afterwards, say, hey, thanks again. And they'll say, no problem, but never, I don't know, maybe it's just I'm less of a personable buyer than Liam is. But, once they got their cash in their hand and they see my taillights, they want nothing to do with me.
Well, but sometimes you're in a deal. You're in a situation where the deal's good, or the person that you're dealing with, they're not an arcade person at all. Maybe they've had it in their family for forever, and it's it's all beaten up, and you just want to reassure them while you're making the deal, none of some of the serious business deals, but a good old boy sale where you're what, I'm gonna fix this up. When we're done, I'll send you pictures of what this looks like, the way it should be. you know, because maybe you inherited it. We've done that a couple of times.
I worry about doing that though, right? For one of two reasons.
They're not going to chase you down and knock down the door and take their game back.
No. It's more like, well, you know, if I'm getting this for $100 and I'm going to restore it and maybe it's going to be worth $1,000 or whatever afterwards, maybe that will give them second thoughts about whatever. But even more so, often, you know, I buy junk, right? And convert, like, for example, my Joust, right, was converted to SNK Street Smart, and they had nostalgia for Street Smart, which is not a good game, right? No. But they were, you know, talking about all these memories of playing it, and their, you know, their kids and their nieces and nephews and whatever. And I'm like, cool. I'm turning it back to what it was supposed to be.
Well, but
right?
I don't know, what I'm saying is like read the room. Like I can tell you on multiple times when I've been picking up a game, especially if I'm at a distance, it's like, no, like when you, sometimes there's an opportunity when you're buying something from someone, and like, okay, we went to Saskatoon. It was like a 16-hour drive for me to pick up a Mario Brothers. And that's my Mario Brothers that eventually ended up turning into the Sky Skipper. Okay. Because it was an upgrade cab.
It was a conversion,
It was a conversion cab, yeah. But like when we showed up to get that thing, like it just felt right to talk about it and like say like, you know what, like that Mario Brothers had been in the family for a very, very long time. In fact, I'm the third owner of that cabinet, and I wanted them to know with assurance that they were selling to the right person, because they had a bunch of people reach out to them to buy that cabinet. And it just meant a little bit more, I think, because I was reading the room and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take very good care of this. Because at the end of the day, like, you know me, like I don't just buy whatever. I just don't add it to my collection. I'm very particular about what comes into the collection. I'm not like Kay where it's a business. I'm not like Charlie where it's like, I'll take everything under the sun if it's $50.
You won't bid on a Future Spy at an auction?
Nope.
Do you want me to swear again on the, okay. But like if something comes into my collection, it has to mean something. It has to be something important, or it has to be something I know is important to a friend of mine. And so, but like I've shown up, like, okay, I'll use the Mario Brothers as an example. I've shown up in Saskatoon. It was like a 7-8 hour drive, 9-hour drive to get out there. Cody and I were tired. We're like, okay, we had already done another pickup for another game that we were talking about just a minute ago in the live chat. And it was just like, you know what? I'm going to take so much care of this game. Like I was so excited when I got there. I got that Mario Brothers for $500 Canadian. So that's about $320 American, something like that, for like $350 American. That's a song, right? As far as now goes, it was a particle board Nintendo cabinet, but it was still a converted Mario Brothers. And so I just said to the lady there, I'm like, you know, full disclosure, I'm going to rip this thing down and I'm going to fully restore it. I'm going to take very good care of that game. And I think what I'm getting at is in that situation, it was really nice just to like give them a little bit of extra peace of mind that it's going to a good home.
Were you licking your lips and like rubbing your hands together?
Dude, as soon as we got that thing in the van,
cabinet.
Yeah, as soon as we got that thing in the van, it was like, start the car, let's go. Like we drove, because Vanessa and I were in Edmonton, because this is back in the days when she used to travel for her old job. And it was like, we were sitting in a hotel and in Edmonton for a couple of days. And Cody messages me. He's like, dude, we've got to go to Saskatoon when you get back. So I've got to drive 4 hours to get home. I have to wait till the next day, drive 4 hours to get home, and then drive 8 hours, 10 hours out to Saskatoon, pick this up, and then come back. And it was like, I think we picked up a couple of things that day. And because Cody picked up I have an Olympia scramble cabinet. Dillweed and I were just talking about this on the Discord channel. You might have seen it earlier in the show. I have an Olympia scramble cabinet, and we picked up that at the same time too. And a copy of SNES, the Link to the Past. Anyway, but we got into the truck after that, and Cody's like, did you mean all that nice stuff that you said to that poor old lady? I'm like, yeah, but let's get out of this in town right now, because when she realizes that she sold it to me for 500 Canadian, they're going to be chasing us out of this province with pitchforks and torches. So
yeah, we've had people both reach out to us to say that they're glad that the game went to a good home. And we've also had situations where a seller has chosen us because they think that it will go to a good home / a true collector. That was actually the Sinistar that we picked up. You saw it on the channel. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
The seller had said to us he'd received a lot of responses, but he wanted it to go to someone who would repair it and who was a true collector would give it a good home.
But I think to answer Charlie's question as well, like other than the tools, like the things that you need to be prepared for, especially if you're going a good distance, is to take a pause when you get there and just figure out the situation. Because it's one thing about going across the street and getting a game, but when you're going across the country or across the state or the province to get a game, you just have to make sure that that distance matters, because that gas mileage matters, that time you've taken matters.
My car makes a nice 11 mpg with a trailer.
Ouch. And then, but like just when you get there, one of those tools that you need to have is to read the room. You know, ask questions like, what else do you have?
Where are the other cabinets hiding?
Where are the other cabinets hiding? But read the room. If it's a nice old lady and you know you're fleecing her on the price,
you can beat her up and take it for free.
In Saskatoon, they fight back. But seriously, like that's one of those tools I think is very, very important. I'm trying to make a serious point here, guys. That's wow. That's one of those tools that I think that you really have to be on the ball with when you're, because of the distance traveled, is the P's and the Q's and the read the room, and just make sure that you're not getting screwed yourself when you show up, that you're not just excited or exhausted to be there, that you arrive, you know the game plan, what you've got to do, you get it sorted, you make sure the monitor is secured or taken out, and you get back on the road.
The monitor is not riding in the trailer, it's going in the car with me.
Yeah, we were talking about that before you joined, actually, is that you pull the monitors and you very carefully strap the frame down with the seatbelt, not the neck, but the frame.
Actually,
and a Geo8 might burst into flames even disconnected.
Face down on a mountain of blankets in the back of the car, strapped down on all four corners with bungee cords.
You've really never had one of those monitors before, have you?
Geo8?
Geo8, no.
Yeah, protect that with your life.
Even unplugged, disconnected, discharged, it's still liable to burst into flames.
It is, yeah.
I'm planning on strapping it down like one would a demonic artifact on it on the way back for weeks.
Just extra rope, just an S&M rope, just wow. It's Family Channel.
But I'm excited to see, because the Geo8 had to get around all of Atari's patents, so it's a whole cluster of interesting decisions from what I've been reading.
Yeah, they're really cool. I really like working on them. That Pengo is insane, by the way.
Loud enough for you?
Yeah. Wait till you have the rest of the collection in there.
Mm-hmm. Not all the games have a track mode sounds, and the Pango only does a track mode once every 4 cycles.
Well, once the captain's chair is finished, we're going to have a reckoning of where are we going to put everything.
Yeah, because you guys have because you've never these are your first sit down cabinets, aren't they?
Yeah.
So you guys have to kind of pull a do-si-do. Why do I keep calling it that? You guys have to completely change some of your game position to do that.
Yeah. Well, I know where the captain's chair is going to go. I don't know what we're going to do with the road blasters yet.
He's replacing his bed with it.
Yeah.
He's just going to sleep in that.
There's a spot for the captain's chair in the Vector room.
Nice.
Gauntlet is going to be evicted. I don't know where Gauntlet is going to go, but the captain's chair is going to go where Gauntlet is.
Don't you have a pool table?
Yes.
Didn't you used to have a pool table? So a pool table is going to be up on Craigslist in your area very soon?
No, that unfortunately will be one of the last things to go. That pool table is Charlie's seen it. It's incredibly nice. I would not want to get rid of that.
Yeah, but you could put a captain's chair there and an EDOT.
There is a plan to put games in that room.
Okay.
But we need to do some remodeling first.
Fair.
What do you think, Kay?
So I know I joke about being TikTok famous, but there are times that I have made sales or gotten machines because of people who had seen my videos, and they either saw the work that I did and they were impressed and they wanted to buy from me because they knew that they were getting something that was done properly, or they had a machine that was a project and they wanted to make sure it was going to go to someone that was going to give it the proper treatment. I have had a lot of people that they sell a machine that had been in their family for so long. I've heard the same story so many times about, oh, this was my grandpa's game. He used to run a route or whatever, or he used to have like this business and he had these machines in his business. And, this is one of the holdovers from that. So I want to make sure that it gets fixed up and goes to a nice home because they know I'm not going to keep it. They know that I run a business and I'm doing this to make money, but they also know that it's going to be completely shopped out and gone through properly. And I'm going to get it to a good home eventually to someone who will appreciate it. And also I have been recognized in parking lots just from people who have seen my videos.
Was this at the Flying J?
No, this is usually it's like at a Home Depot or something like that, but it wasn't even in town. I was in San Angelo, which is a couple hours away, and I went to Home Depot to pick something up, and I had a couple machines in the back of the truck, and someone saw that, and they saw my logo on the side of the truck, and they're like, "Oh, hey, I follow you on TikTok. I watch all your videos or whatever. I've been interested in buying a game." And that did actually end up in a sale a couple months down the line when they bought something and I delivered it to them.
Wow.
So I have been seen in public, and it's things like that. It's mostly because of people seeing the work that I do and liking it. That translates into sales is the reason why I still make the videos, because I don't make a whole lot of, like, I don't make any money making the videos. Like the monetization is just like $6 a month. There's no reason to keep doing it for that.
Yeah.
It's mostly just because it does translate into sales, and there are people who do watch them and really do appreciate the work that I do, and so it does directly translate into money that way. So I even though I don't get a whole lot of views anymore, I will continue to make the content for the people who will actually buy something or sell me something because of what they see that I do.
Yeah. And as a collector on YouTube too, like we run into that. Like it's been multiple times when they've said like, hey, like we've seen your content, like my Sheriff and Hellfire as an example, like, hey, we saw your content. We know you're passionate about this. You'll take care of it. We got this. Would you like to come get it? Or even just
like
friends, right? Oh, you're into this. Like come get it.
Yeah, it's most of what I do is by word of mouth anyway, and
Yeah.
just having the people that have a machine and they want to make sure it gets done right. That's one of those things where my reputation kind of precedes me.
Yeah.
As for other interactions with people after the deal, the only collector in this area that I know personally was a customer first.
Oh wow.
And became a friend afterwards. And he and I have gone on warehouse raids together. We've gone on road trips together. I've sold him things. He sold me things. He gets parts and stuff for me all the time. If he needs like a nice burn-free monitor for one of his machines, he comes to me first because I probably have something on the shelf that he can use. That's really the only person that I've interacted with in any capacity after the fact. But that is how I met the guy. Plus, he has a really nice pinball collection now, so I can use him to go play some pins that I don't normally get to put my hands on. He's got a total nuclear annihilation I really like to go play. He's the only one in the area that's got one. So
that game is phenomenally good, just not to maintain. The gameplay is phenomenal. The soundtrack is phenomenal. Scott Denisi did an amazing job on that. But keeping that game running in like a coin op scenario, we pitched it out the door at Pinbar so fast it made our head spin.
Yeah, he doesn't have it coin op. It's at his place, so maintenance, and he maintains all his own machines, so he knows what he's doing.
I love the soundtrack.
Oh, it's so good.
It's a great soundtrack. Plus, I think he put like an extra subwoofer and stuff in there too.
The pinball machine itself is not good.
No. Like the game is good.
I think it's fun.
It's so much fun. The shots are great, but I'll just be blunt on this. Spooky games on location, like big time. Oh, can't get rid of that. Spooky games on location are a nightmare. If you're a coin operator, here's a pro tip that's not anything to do with what we're talking about today. If you're an operator and you're thinking about putting a spooky game on location, just don't.
Well, there goes our sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah, sorry. But
So
buy them for home use. Like Rick and Morty is one of the best games that I've ever played in the history of me playing pinball. Total Nuclear Annihilation, same thing. But
you can see in the
TNA is
chat,
much better.
Inko saying that I wanted Swords of Fury pin. She was with me last time we went to his place, and she got to experience some of those pins for the first time too. And Swords of Fury is one of the only like dungeon crawler type themed pins, and she really dug it. It's also one of the only pins he had that wasn't LED'd out.
Buffy
It had the
conversion
original
mod for it.
incandescent.
I would love a Buffy the Vampire Slayer pinball.
Oh, that'd be neat.
Sorry, Swords of Fury. You're talking about the new Stern.
No,
The
the 90s pin.
The 90s one. Okay.
He had it's one of the only machines that he kept the original incandescence in because it made it darker, it fit the theme better, and being surrounded by all these other really bright color matched games, it set the theme a little bit different, and it was a really nice effect. So
Nice. Go ahead.
No, I'm done. You're good.
Okay. Well, I was going to say before we completely wrap up, Liam, you and Sam are going to keep us updated on the members only Discord, correct? You're going to just, you're going to travel vlog this. You're filming this for a Retrobrotics episode, I hope.
Are we filming this? I don't know.
I don't want to put the pressure on you. I'm as a fan, I'm asking cautiously.
We will be keeping up to date as we go down. I'm sure that there will be plenty of photos at Kennedy.
With cosplay Starfleet uniforms.
No, but
who needs that? Just tell me more about Kennedy when you get there. But no, please, like in the members only Discord, like keep us up to date. Maybe I don't know if we can swing Charlie to make a group chat or a channel specifically in the members only Discord so you guys can keep up to date. So we're not filling the general chat.
Tomorrow evening to pick up the games. So we'll see if we get there.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys arrive safe and that everything's good. And
so subscribe to the channel today so that you can see the updates tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got to take off in a couple minutes. So.
Well, tell us where we can find you on the internet, Liam.
Find us on Retrobrotics on YouTube, the 64-bit on Kalo.
Awesome. Well, thanks for hopping on and joining us for a little bit. Please drive safe. We're all pulling for you. You got the whole world cheering for you. So good luck.
Mostly Sam, but somewhat you.
And speaking of TikTok famous, Kay, where can people find more about you in Prime Arcade?
You can find me on Facebook and TikTok. My TikTok name is @prime_arcade. I'm also on YouTube @PrimeArcadeTX, but I haven't really been updating that much because I don't have a whole lot of followers there, and no one seems to care. So I'm just continuing to do it on TikTok and Facebook.
Thank you, Kay. And Chance, what about the Canadian Arcade?
So I am Chance Johnson from one half of the Canadian Arcade, the second half, the lesser half of the Canadian Arcade. Josh Brown and I post videos whenever we feel like it on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, you can point your phone at this QR code and get a link to our channel. We also post tons of stuff, some stuff on Instagram, so you can point your phone at that as well. Under the Canadian Arcade, it's not hard to find us. We're out there. So, yeah.
Awesome. What's that?
What? Said they're out there, man.
They're out there, man.
And I'm Charlie. I am both halves of Overtime Arcade. If you're watching this right now, you're watching this on my channel. I did not bribe Chance to plug the membership, the channel membership, as many times as he did. But if you want to get in on the Discord that Chance has been talking about a bunch, and a bunch of us have, click that join button down below. $1.99 a month to get early access to all new videos, a monthly members only live stream, and our really cool, really active, a lot of fun members only Discord. So, guys, I think that'll do it. Drive safe, Liam. I got to go edit some Bosconian pickup videos.
Some swear words out of the...
I got to edit that out, too. So, all right, everybody. This has been episode 17 of the Coin Jam podcast.